Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I have our our summer coaches panel, Northern Virginia high school coaches, a whole bunch of hardware and titles on this call tonight. It's great to see you guys with me tonight. West Potomac is David Houston, um, uh, uh, Patriot League, as Desmond likes to say, he's always near the top of that tough Patriot League. Couple great district tournaments in the last couple years, but just a lifetime of many years of success there. I got from Hayfield, Carlos Poindexter. Coach Carlos again had Hayfield back in the state tournament this year again, and been reading his tweets. I'm dying to hear what Coach has to say about what's going on around the basketball ovals. Yeah, and I got Coach Doug Craig. Coach had another great season last year. Got to the state final, and injury bug kind of hit, and made it a little bit easier on our buddy Coach Desmond. But I'm sure Coach will have something waiting for him next year. And then Coach Sherman Rivers, looks like Coach said he had a lot of young players coming back. He was very bullish coming into the summer. I'm glad to see his team. Looks like they're doing well. Guys, great to see you again. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you having us, man.
Hi, Julian. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind I did the shortened resumes today. There's a whole bunch of state titles and regional titles and stuff on there. I just go get right into it. People probably know you. First of all, how about an update about the live periods? I think we've had 2 live periods recently. Did the live periods go well? Are we learning something from our mistakes? And what's going on with the teams? Did who's playing well, and not just your own teams, but what else did you see at these tournaments? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Los.
I called you out, Los.
Yeah, nah, that's all good. I feel like the live periods went well though overall. Like the Virginia Live, the VHSL one that we had at St. James, that one was a little better than it was the previous year. Not as many changes that they made throughout the schedule. Like the year before when they first ran it was like changes over changes over changes over changes every single day. And I felt like it was very much, they did a better job with it. With what's the LC Bird? Aiken. I think Greg Aiken.
Greg Aiken.
So I felt like he got a better hold of, what every team has, and they put together pretty decent matchups from what I saw. And then I also went to DC Live, just like Sherm went to DC Live. And so, saw some teams over there. I think, who else was over there, Sherm? It was you and somebody else.
The Woodside was up there.
Westfield and Edison.
Westfield.
So you got to see those teams. Westfield's, in my opinion, is probably the 6A favorites.
You got to put them up there.
Yeah,
now.
They look really good, man. Is Kevin coming on today?
He's supposed to, but so he might be traveling.
Yeah, they did go to North Carolina for their second live period. So
I thought Alexandria City was there too.
If they were, I didn't. You saw them, Sherm?
I didn't see them.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I saw them.
Hey, Los, is Kevin's youngest son playing this year?
I don't know.
Yes.
That.
Yeah,
okay.
He is.
Okay. Oh, that's why you asked. That's why you asked if Coach Kevin's coming. Next question.
So that was the first week. The second week, they combined the Vista and VHSL combined and did one in Henrico at the Henrico Center, and they said it was 82 teams, I think.
Wow. Between
both VHSL and Vista teams. And also it was like a DC. I saw Baloo there, so they had a little bit of everything. It seems like Ohio team. I played an Ohio team, so yeah, and I think Doug went today. I don't know how you didn't go to the second live one, right?
No.
Yeah. So I know me, Sherm, and Doug was up in Henrico. I know South County was in Philly. Chantilly was in Philly. So everybody's spread out doing different things, getting games in, and just trying to get better throughout the summer.
Yeah. Well, we'll go back around. Carlos, you could tell us about your team and how you guys played. Who else wants to give some general thoughts about the live?
I was really happy with the one at the Henrico Sportsplex. I thought that, they did a really good job of how they designed that. having the publics and the privates in the same place for Virginia, obviously for the first time. It was numerous coaches from all levels in there. I mean, I know one of our games, it was Kansas, Maryland,
Jeez.
Georgetown, who else? Oklahoma State,
Oklahoma State, yeah.
Old Dominion, Mount St. Mary's, and then like I saw Catholic was there, Roanoke, Randolph,
Seeing you.
CNU was there. I mean, they were all
Mary
there,
Marsh.
and as much as, like I said, the VHSL was better this year than it was before, but it's still competing with DC Live and DMV Live, as far as like the coaches have the split time and where they're going. So they're there, but it's not the overall collection of coaches that you had at those other events. Like DC Live, I mean, those same thing. It was all those guys sitting up in the stands,
Yeah.
watching games. But overall, I was happy with it. Like I said, anytime we can get those kids opportunities to go do that. I've gone to Philly in the past, so I know that one's a good one as well. I've heard North Carolina is really good. I just don't want to make that trip. But I've heard that one was a good one. But it's great. The unfortunate part is that even though they are doing these things, I feel like VHSL is doing things that are counteracting what we're trying to do as far as some of the rules and things that we got going on.
Oh, we getting right to it.
No, listen. I mean, we ain't gonna pretend. Like the fact that we have a live period event for the first time in our state, combining all those. When I talk about all the coaches who were there, and I didn't even get to probably a third of them, and we are in a dead period where we can't even be around our kids leading up to it.
Yeah. Oh, you couldn't practice this week?
Couldn't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like we're trying to do things, and what they said so they could put it more back in the hands of like high school coaches, but then the rules that you keep putting in place are doing the opposite of that. Yeah. And then that's going to obviously lead a lot of what we're going to talk into, like all these transfers of kids that were playing in one team a week ago, and then we're playing with another team this past weekend. So that was an interesting thing to see for sure.
Oh God, because transfer portal's wide open already.
Absolutely.
House or Coach Craig, Coach Doug, want to get in here?
I didn't make it to I was at the St. James. I agree. I thought it was much less email traffic back and forth about changes and updates and et cetera. I didn't have an issue the year before with playing anybody local, but I do remember, I think, Sherman, I watched you last year play Falls Church, I think it was.
Yeah, our schedule
like
last year was really bad.
Yeah, so I heard a couple of schools say that they had some teams they played locally, but for the most part, I thought it was pretty spread out where you're playing teams that are away.
If Tony was on, he played West Springfield.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, I heard it. So there's still some fixums, but like we played a couple schools, and there were a number of coaches that were down at our games, so at least I was, I'm talking to my guys about, as all of us are, if there are coaches here, like I do know that we can improve the way it is, and the timing, of course, is the dead period. They clearly don't talk that's obvious, but at the times that we have to play in front of these collegiate coaches, we have that now. We used to not have that, whether it's, 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, it used to be 0 days, and we're able to get them and see them there. And there's our opportunity. If you're a kid, to show that's it. Sometimes you only get one shot. Like sometimes you get that. But now at least they can have that. I hate the fact that, there were guys that I saw play 2 Saturdays ago for schools, and then I saw tweets that they're not playing for them a Saturday later. I hate that that's happening. But as far as VHSL Live, I thought it was okay. I don't like necessarily the rules. I'd love to know how Henrico did the rules. Like, did they have money?
Henrico was just like a regular game.
Yeah, so I don't like the VHSL rules.
2 16-minute halves. I didn't like the setup.
I actually agree with y'all about that.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like that they did with the fouls. And I was like, if you're going to do that, then it should just been 2 halves, because it just was way too much. They ran the clock for 1 quarter, then didn't run it for the next quarter. It was just a lot of random stuff.
Yeah, that part definitely wasn't cool. They could fix that. They could also fix the same referees not having the same refs for the entire day. Because they certainly will screw the thing. It's the same two dudes, and then we're getting two. My daughter played in the lot, and the girls one the week before. They had three refs per court, and then we get there and there's only two. I mean, it's just that don't really make the game didn't slow down. So I mean, fixing those things, I think it's getting better though. Yeah, it's getting better. I saw some good teams, saw some out of town teams that were really good. So yeah, I thought it was all right.
They're talking about combining that and
DC.
DC Live
Right.
in the same venue,
Right.
then spreading it out and putting courts over there on the football field.
Yeah.
So making it even bigger, which would kind of fix the problem we're talking about with the coaches having to be so spread out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would fix the problem of a kid leaving one Saturday and going somewhere else two Saturdays
Oh,
later.
that ain't gonna do
Not
nothing.
gonna fix that at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What you got, Doug?
Coach Craig, what about you? What are your thoughts? Early days.
I think, I mean, I think the VHSL Live has improved marginally every year, and which I think is to be expected. The first year they ran the tournament, they're running it for the very first time. There's obviously going to be issues. And the second year, you probably solve some of those issues and some new stuff cropped up. And it sounds like this year it was even a little better organized. I wasn't actually, I mean, we played, but I wasn't able to be there. I was with the rest of my program at a team camp. I had my assistants were running the bench over at VHSL Live. So it sounds like it's getting a little bit better every year. I think it seemed like some of the scheduling issues. I remember the first couple of years it was being very chaotic with the scheduling. It would seem like you got multiple updates, like even the day before the event. Um,
Hours before the event.
yeah, which for a local team isn't as much of a problem as it might be if you're traveling from Virginia Beach up and your game gets changed the day before.
Right.
The second weekend down at the Henrico Sportsplex, first of all, I thought what a great venue.
Yeah.
Eight courts in one big room. It's really easy to find your way around. The facility is almost brand new. It's nice, it's clean, it's well lit. I thought they had a lot of really good teams. I thought, just talking to the coaches, seemed like the level of competition was a little bit better at the Henrico, which I think you got more Richmond and 757 teams down there than the VHSL Live, which obviously they have to travel a little ways to get to. So it was good 2 weekends. I saw a lot of college coaches down in Richmond, which was great for our kids. I know we had college coaches every game we played watching us play. So that was really good. I thought it was well organized. It seemed like it ran on time, which I think is a big thing for these, right? You don't want to show up and you got to wait a half an hour after your scheduled game. I think that's one of the biggest challenges probably with the VHSL Live up at the St. James is they only have 4 courts and they're trying to accommodate so many teams that I think they're trying to shorten the games to make sure it all runs on time. But I would rather build an extra 10 minutes, extra 15 minutes in for every game and play, normal rules. Even if you did like 2 14-minute halves or something like that to shorten it just a little bit, but have normal rules. But I think that's something that will get better. I think the fact that the Coaches Association started getting involved, I think a little bit with the VHSL Live helps because the coaches are, we're familiar with how basketball stuff should run. And I think, Mr. Aiken has done a really good job, all things considered. He's kind of a party of one there for the first
Yes.
couple of years. For as much as we complain, it's one guy trying to organize, 90 team tournament. It's not an easy task for as much as we complain and coaches will find reasons to complain.
Especially like you said, and coaches like canceling, saying they don't want to play certain people.
Yeah,
That happens too. Those things
absolutely.
we don't. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think first of all, and I've spoke to a couple college coaches. I had a chance to kind of sit down with some college coaches down in Richmond, ask them about what they liked about the high school live period. They seem to be in favor of it. They like it. They like seeing kids play and under a little more structure. Where sometimes the more talented guys on their AU teams, you're one of 7 or 8 guys, where sometimes on your high school team, you got to be the guy. I think they like seeing that. So I got really good feedback from some of the college coaches I talked to that they really like the high school live periods. And that they're enjoying seeing the kids play in a more structured kind of setting. So I think where AU, sometimes it can be, I don't know, sometimes those teams can't practice a ton, so it's a little looser game. But I think the feedback is, I think it's getting better every year, and it seems like it's affording kids opportunities. I saw, some kids pop that they got offers after this weekend and last weekend. I saw the kid from Westfield got an offer, right, Los, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's exactly what we want. Listen, if one kid I said this when the VHSL started doing this their first live period at the St. James 3 years ago. If one kid gets a scholarship, it was worth it. One kid gets a free education, it's worth it. So the fact that we got kids getting offers based on this, I think that's exactly what you want. And it can only get better as long as everybody's continuing to work together. I think the issue with the rules, which I think we're going to get into here, is something that's going to have to be addressed. But it's all new. So in fairness to the people, it is all kind of new. So we're all
So it's
kind of
great.
learning.
It's getting offers, but they're not getting offers from other high schools to transfer at these live.
College offers, college.
Right. I figured that. But are live periods anything you have to worry about with all the teams together, or they have they have that experience with AAU anyway. So this is
Yeah, that doesn't matter. They're going to see them wherever they're going to see them at.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
What about the tempo? The tempo of live. How important? You guys approach your team. You have the spring workouts, and then you have summer league, team camp, then you have fall league, and then you have this season. Is live becoming such an important part of like the calendar? Is it changing the way you look at the calendar and getting your team prepared for the
Well,
season?
it's going to change it based off these new rules big time, because all those things you talked about aren't going to be options anymore.
Well, just be specific in what you're talking about, just to make sure I understand.
Well, basically what has happened is that the VHSL said from July 1st to July 1st in an off season, you have 10 calendar days you can play.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that if you say, like us, who plays in the Cabo Hoop Summer League, playing that Summer League, that means that we can't participate in Tony Bentley's Fall League because that would be over the 10 days. Now, what is up in the air and people don't know for certain is, do team camps count? And then, like you said, it's like, but that's not like, you can play however many games in a day. So, and then, like you said, it goes past a certain date where all our VHSL teams had to drop out of the Capital Hoop Summer League. But then you have some other teams that play in their championship of another league that are also in the VHSL. And like, everything is so all over the place. And most of it is just based off of what, and this is what I'm not going to say who tell me this, but the fact that the coaches that don't want to do stuff in the offseason, they wanted them to put more rules in place so that the people that do stuff in the offseason won't put pressure on them to have to do things. Now, part of it is because they're in smaller schools and they got multiple sports athletes, which can be understandable. But at the same time, like, hey, it is what it is. If you're not going to want to do it, and then you have the other ones that say, my summer is my summer, I'm not going to do this. And listen, there's a bunch of guys like that around me that do that type of stuff, and they don't do things, but then they want to complain when kids don't want to go to their school. Then they want to complain when they win 8 to 10 games. Then they want to complain when their kids aren't getting the attention of the other teams, or their parents like, why are we always talking about that team? So it just came down to, is like, how can we make it so they can't keep doing things to make us have to do stuff as well? And they make up most of that vote. It also is a big reason why we're never going to get a shot clock, because they don't want it. And we got to get 60% of the vote to have it, and it's just not going to happen. So this is now what has come down as far as that goes.
Wow. Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on some of the rule changes, and also how this is going to affect the live periods, are going to affect how you get your team prepared for the season?
I mean, so from my understanding, the live periods don't count against those 10
They
days.
don't. Live periods don't count. So
I feel like
those
those
very important though, because they don't count.
Yeah, those 2 weekends are still going to be very important for every high school kid that has a prospective college athlete.
Mhm.
So, to me, those are the 2 most important weekends in the summer at this point, especially moving forward if they're going to continue to do it. And you just try to prepare and get ready for that. And like, I know, like, for us, we don't really do too much. Like, we're probably, like, I think I had like 2 green days leading up into the live period. Everything else is just, we just been, doing conditioning and working out type stuff. So that's how we prepare. We just trying to make sure our guys stay in shape so that when they do go play, that they can be productive on the court. So that's like, to me, that was like the biggest thing.
Yeah. And,
Yeah, I look at it as like, it's June, and in a July period. So if you're talking about your team and how you think your team is going to be at the end of the year, I'm not necessarily sure that that's like a great
No.
measure to say like, oh, you won 3 games at the live in June, so you're certainly going to go to the finals or something. I don't think that, but I think
Right. Yeah.
I do think that for prospective college, kids or kids that would like to be seen or are hoping to be to showcase themselves in front of a lot of people, the live is important for those weekends. I mean, we still have kids that are opting out to just because of other issues. I know it is a problem. Like I have a lot of spring sports kids. So like we had kids that hadn't, that were competing in the state tournament and competing in, different things like that. And so it definitely was at the same time. So it wasn't good timing for that. But I mean, it is. I think we use it for what it is for our teams to get yourself to kind of find out for what we are. I like to find our toughness factor and kids who've really been putting the time in, and how much energy and how well our conditioning is working. But for kids that want to be seen, I certainly saw some players that it was clear they were hoping to be seen. Not my team, but other guys that wanted to be seen, and they showcased themselves. And I thought that was, we played a kid from Tuscarora is really good.
Yeah. He's going to, for now, he's going to stay.
I was going to talk about him too.
Yeah, we played them the first game. And before I knew it, a lot of coaches are down our end of the court, and he played well. And I thought, for him at that time, it was a perfect opportunity at the time that we played to showcase his stuff. So, however well he does.
Colin Bird, right, Coach? Colin Bird is his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, I had no idea who this guy was. So, we just played him regular. We played him regular, and then next thing I know, like, oh, okay, well, let's play him a little bit differently now. But for that, I thought it's used well. My team will use it for where we are in the year.
Yeah. Now, Coach Craig, I know you've always had a kind of two teams, not necessarily A or B team, just two teams, and you let a greater number of kids participate in the summertime than you're going to have in the fall and the winter. Is that the way you approach the live periods as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think you owe it to your kids. I mean, right now I have some kids that are legitimate college level guy, like they're going to have an opportunity to play. So I feel like you owe it to those kids to put them out on the live period. Maybe some years if we don't have those kind of guys, maybe I'll rethink it. But to me, that seems to be the most important part of the summer. I've always viewed fall as a little different than summer because fall you're getting closer to season. You want to start maybe building some chemistry if you can. Certainly your condition. You want to up your conditioning so that when they hit the floor in November, they're in good shape. But the summer to me has always been like almost a different part of the off season. So to me now, these 2 weekends have become the most important part of the off season because I think you owe it to your kids to put them in front. I think listen. Bottom line is when you take a high school basketball job, a varsity job, I think part of the job is putting your kids in a position where if they want to continue playing, they have the opportunity to do so. I just think that's part of my job. It's not written in my contract anywhere, but I feel it's part of my job. Maybe other coaches feel differently about it. I can't speak to like what Coach Rivers was saying. Other guys, most of the guys in our league seem to put their teams out in these events and play. So I think that, that's part of it. One of the things that I think is going on right now in terms of some of the rules not being in sync, I think because this live periods with the high school is so new, you have administrators that are in charge and are organizing things that have no perspective on these live periods because it's a totally new thing from the NCAA. So they're working on rules and theories that are a bit antiquated at this point. That they have to understand these summer events for basketball are a big deal. You don't have these summer events in field hockey. They just don't exist. But in basketball, they do. So one of the things that the VHSL seems to want to do is treat every sport almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
But all the sports are a little bit different. I wouldn't presume to know what a volleyball coach would need. And I think that too, the other thing is like timelines are different. A lot of high school sports, there's not really an off-season expectation for coaches and teams. I don't think a lot of sports, they're not going to team camps together in boys and girls tennis. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different. Where in basketball, that's kind of the expectation. And if you as a coach don't do it and you don't have success, parents are going to find ways to complain about that. And you could find your way losing your job. I mean, it doesn't rock, but we know that when we take the job, that this is part of the expectation, at least at a big school, it seems like. I understand it's a little different for the small schools where you have a lot of kids playing multiple, and even the coach might be coaching multiple sports because there aren't three different coaches at that school. But I feel like that's the thing. And I think what we need to do is we need to now start bringing our rules and our guidelines from the VHSL in line with what's going on. So instead of having 1 2 period dead week for all sports, perhaps every season should have a 2 period dead week at different times throughout the year. So like for us in the winter, I don't think anybody on here would say, hey, the spring break week and the week right before or after spring break, no contact with your kids. Probably everybody on here is gonna be like, that's fine. It's not impacting anything. They're with their AAU teams anyway. Conversely, I know football coaches were really upset about this 2 week red period here in early July because what are they trying to do? They're trying to ramp up for their season, which is starting in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And now they got to be away from their kids for 2 weeks. Two weeks, kids might not be in the weight room, kids might not be in the track. Now they got to restart it again. So like the timelines are not syncing up. Now, if you're a baseball coach right now and they're give you a 2 week dead period, this is the time you want it, right? It's right after your season ended. So I think what needs to start happening is we need to start having conversations between who makes the schedules and the actual coaches that are being impacted, because we all know basketball, like June is really big high school basketball time. It's summer league time, it's team camp time. And now, I don't know, everybody on here runs their own camp to fundraise. Well, we have 2 weeks now, and it's already a short summer because of the way the school year falls, where we can't even host a camp at Woodson. And that's our big fundraiser for the year. That's how I pay for everything in the program. And we can't have a camp because it's a
Can't
2 week
have
dead.
contact with our kids. Yeah.
Yeah, the baseball coach might not care because he's got the rest of the summer and he's got fall, and he doesn't really care. But right now for basketball, this is a hard time to not have access. And I think because all this stuff is new, we need to now start having conversations about syncing up the calendar between the high school, because I'm pretty sure the VHSL doesn't want to take opportunities away from kids getting a college scholarship because, oh, we can't play in these live period events because they're during a red week. Thank God they gave an exemption to this one down in Richmond so that you could still play during the red period. So I was pleased to see that. I just think these conversations need to start happening.
Yeah. Hopefully with the new head of the VHSL, there'll be more flexibility into how we do things.
So one thing, Coach Craig, we do have separate red weeks throughout the year. All of us on here, we don't really know of it because we're typically playing in the postseason, and it really starts like at the end of our year. Like it's supposed to be at the end of each season. The fall
there is one. Yeah, there's a different one for each one.
Right, winter has theirs, and so I understand the rationale for those.
That is true. Yeah, you're right.
But as long as you're still playing, you're not, we don't.
Right. It doesn't apply to you.
Red period. But the summer one, I certainly agree with you there. In the summer period, it should either be, if you're going to say it's 2 weeks, you need to by sport almost spread them out differently. Because, yeah, you're right. For football, I mean, you got an injury issue with those kids. Like they've been off for 2 weeks, and now all of a sudden they're going to ramp it up, and then they're going to get 7-on-7s, and then they're going to get helmets, and and then for us, absolutely, this is June, July, early June, or late June, early July for basketball. Like everyone if you've ever played, certainly knows this is the time.
That's the time you play.
Right.
Our time would be August, like that would be early August.
That would be, or that, like you said, that month, or like April.
Correct. Yeah. Something. You're right. And so spread out separately per. Like you're right, because like for baseball or spring sports, right now would be perfect. Right. Yeah. This is a downtime for them. So I mean, that's just a conversation that like you got to get the right people in the room with the right people to want to hear this stuff, because it makes sense. It's just.
Well, the problem is every time we bring these things up after the fact, they say, they'll say, well, your AD or your principal.
Yeah, they say voted on it. They say it's the principal. I didn't know
that. They say either one, your AD or your principal voted on it. And then it's like, well, did anybody ask, like you said, like coaches like ourselves, any input on this? Because clearly we would have a better idea of the timeline and how it affects things.
Yeah, well, it's always the principals. It's always the principals. Like the VHSL is made up of the principals of the schools. But if your principal and you or whomever, the DSA and the principal and the coaches aren't communicating, which around the state, we know they're not. There's not a great combination of those. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed.
I think it would be nice if once someone from the VHSL would reach out to maybe have a guiding panel of coaches around the state that for every sport that meet a couple of times throughout the year to talk about these things. And then he could go back to the principal and say, hey, this is what the coaches are saying. We should tailor the dead periods at certain times of the year to not impact certain sports, certain times in the off season, certain sports to do stuff like, and that's not hard, but they just don't want to have these conversations because they want to make blanket rules because I guess they feel it's easier for everyone to have the blanket rules. But, if you're a sport that has an off season, and let's be honest, I mean, football, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls lacrosse, I'm not sure there are other sports that really do a lot in the off season with maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like, there are certain sports that it's not really impacting some of these other sports at all, but it's having huge impacts um in our sport. And I can imagine, like, imagine if basketball coaches, what's going on with football right now? Like if they came to us and said, hey, yeah, from October the 1st through October the 15th, you can't do anything with your kids. Like we would all be screaming because that's like 4 weeks before the start of tryouts. We're starting to get kids in shape, and now you want us to stop for 2 weeks. Like it's a terrible time. So I understand why football coaches are so mad right now about this. I get it.
Yeah. These little things are important because the exposure that you can give kids with live periods and the rules around live period, it's just so important to keep the best players from going to private schools. I mean, if they're going to get so much more exposure at private schools, and they can reclass and the other things that they get with private schools, we're giving away some of the advantages of the kids staying with the public schools. So I think we should. I hope they do whatever they can to make it easier for you guys to get the kids in these periods, and also to make it work well with your other
That's the other part of it. Like you said, some of these things make it so it opens the door to these kids thinking that that's a better option because it's more access to whatever things that they can have to than the people getting their ears saying that, oh man, we don't have that going on right now. You could be in the gym if you was with us right now, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, they say that they are trying to get it more into the high school coaches' hands and try to get rid of all the handlers and all the hanger-ons. But then every rule we seem to put in place is doing the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I don't even really care about the
Yeah.
going to private schools and that stuff because there's so many kids that make those decisions have nothing to do with this. But for me, it goes back to, listen, if one kid gets a free education, one freaking kid, that just changes that kid's entire life and that family's entire life. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to? We wouldn't be telling a kid who was a virtuoso violinist, yeah, don't come into the school and work with the band director or the orchestra director every day, and that kid's got a chance to go make a living doing this. We would tell that band director they were a bad band director if they didn't work with that kid.
Correct.
But in sports, it's like you're a bad coach if you work with the kid in the summertime, or they come to you and say, hey, can you help me work on my jump shot? Like, we're bad for doing that because somehow we're breaking some rule. It's not the same. And for some kids, sports is their way out. Sports is why they come to school. Like, there are some kids that are in my program, I'm telling you right now, are not all that interested in school. You know why they come to school? Because they get to play basketball. They know they have to do it to play basketball. And that's the idea of education-based sports, is that they go together. And I feel like by putting restrictions on kids and not doing it at the best interest and the best times is putting kids in a position where they have to choose different things.
Yeah.
Hey, I have Julian, I would like to caution us by using some of this verbiage when we say private schools, they got more exposure. I think we do have people that listen, and I think they take some of that stuff, more exposure for certain kids, maybe not.
Oh, no, there's not more exposure. We can get into that in a second, too, when we start talking about this transfer stuff.
And Doug, I've never heard you have anybody that wanted to come to school, not to school and just basketball. That's great to hear that you're a part of all of us over here.
Yeah. Listen, there are kids. I think we all know there are teenagers, particularly there are a lot of teenage boys who don't like school a lot and do it and do it because they have their extracurriculars or they have their friend group or whatever it might be that keeps them coming. Eventually, a lot of kids figure it out that I like learning. I like getting smart. I like learning about new things. But sometimes at 15, 16, 17, that is not the time for that. And sports is a big part of it for certain kids and keeps them in the building. Woodson is no different than any other. It just seems like it is.
Yeah.
I'll just give it a hard time.
The soccer All Met team came out this weekend, and there were 14 Division I players that made the All Met, and that's just Virginia because DC and Maryland play soccer in the fall. And 3 or 4 years ago, there might have been two Division I players in all the Met teams. What's happened is all the players now want to play high school soccer. Something has happened, and maybe it's social media, maybe it's I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, the energy is with the public schools that everyone wants to play, and the level of play has gone through the roof. So I do think there are things that we can do to elevate the game, and that can make a difference. We've talked about this a million times. The Final Four we used to have at Robinson and George Mason. No one wanted to miss out on that. I mean, there were kids that transferred, of course, because they needed exposure. But you could do things to make the game more attractive that will keep kids. It might not keep all the kids, but it may make a difference on around the edges, I think. But anyway, you guys want to move to transfers? Or you want to talk about your own teams first?
You're talking about transfer stuff first.
Yeah, you guys are dying to talk. Well, let's talk about transfers. I said, maybe we'll start with Los on this again. Los had a tweet the other day that I read, and I was surprised because Carlos, coach is kind of he doesn't put it all out there on tweets, but this time he kind of did. So I was just curious, what is going on in the transfer market? I haven't heard. I have heard the kid Tal Rose from Valley's going to Virginia Academy. I've
Who?
heard.
Which one?
His name is Tal Rose. He was a player of the year, Loudon Valley, good player. He just 6'5" kid. He just transferred to Virginia Academy.
Wow.
I know another the Ridgeway kid just transferred to Evergreen from Riverside. So I've heard some stuff. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the transfer. The rules or whatever, but also the actual activity.
Well, pretty much, what is this, 26, class of 26? I mean, there's a class, at least, well, I'll talk Fairfax County. I can't speak for Prince William, but I probably am. There is a class of 26. We saw it a few years back, post-pandemic, at least in our area, almost all the top kids in class of 26 have decided to go somewhere else.
Is that right?
And damn
for
near everyone that was a top player in 20 back then when they were freshmen, sophomores, are pretty much out.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a post-pandemic issue for sure. Transfers picked up 1,000%, since pandemic, and everybody feels like it's, they're posting, they're going to a different high school. I think that's outrageous. I don't mind saying it out loud here. Posting that you're transferring to another high school is outrageous in my opinion. But like that's what that's clearly what, kids want. That's what the families want to see. That's what they that is where we are right now. It's not this, I won't say I'm glad. I'm definitely not glad at all. But I had this a few years ago, and it isn't always. There needs to be, like I said a couple, podcasts ago, and we were on. There needs to be almost like a where are they now? Like a what's going on TV1? Like what's going on now? Because it makes it seem great to just leave and green pastures on the other side, and I don't necessarily believe that that's always the case. All of us on here run solid programs, have put kids in school, have gone to school ourselves, have, done lots of really good things and really care greatly and deeply for what we do and for the kids that we and our communities, and for people to leave, and then many, I don't know about many leave and announce it via social media. So I
don't mind they announce it. Just don't do like a meme. Don't do anything professional.
Don't announce it on
announce
social media when you've got coaches and teammates that have spent hours and hours, and
Yeah.
that's not the way that
Yeah.
there are other ways to do something like that, right? You don't break up with somebody on a text.
You did mention Colin Bird, and he bounced back to Tuskegee from, I guess he had actually been in Loudoun County, but he went to Paulo VI, came back to Tuskegee. Man, that kid was a joy to watch last year, and hopefully he stays. I mean, I know it's early, but I know he played against you last week, Dave. So far so good, right?
I mean, yeah, he looked like he was a part of the group, part of the team, part of the kids. But we've seen that before.
So who was leaving? Who left that we were counting on?
For me, I lost two kids this upcoming. I lost right before the first live period. I lost Aiden Pratt. He's transferring. Well, I don't know where he's transferring to, but he's transferring somewhere. He didn't play with us. He's hurt also. So he, from my understanding, he was going to go to Avalon, but I don't know if that's a done deal. Avalon's in Maryland. It's some type of prep school. And then going leading up into the second live period, I lost the Prosper kid, Cam Prosper. So I lost him, which pretty much, so you lose your starting point guard.
And they hit Julian hard.
And you
Man, I love that
starting forward.
kid, man. He was a warrior.
So yeah, so I lost both. I lost both of those kids. And Cam's going to Bethel. He put out a tweet that he was reclassing to the 2027 class. So good luck to him, and good luck to Pratt. I had Ashton Pratt who
Yeah, that's his brother,
who
right?
won a championship with us and got a Division II offer. So I don't know, something changed with that situation.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand because I know that Cam came for football, or at least he played football, and he looked like he really was getting serious about basketball, and it was going so well. And then of course, the family bond, um, it's tough. But I guess this is the life we lead, right?
Yeah, and I, the tweet that I put out, I've been, this is my 13th season. I've never really lost a transfer that I thought was good for our program. I've never lost a kid like that up until Phoenix, and then from Phoenix it was Pratt, and then Pratt to Prosper, all within literally 365 days. So it's been a lot. But hey, we're gonna move forward, man. You just gotta coach the kids who come into the building and figure it out.
It's like Doug says, you just coach the ones that show up at practice. So is that
Nah,
Tony or is it
100%.
Doug?
Hey, but
Yeah,
I am looking forward to, it's gonna be a struggle. I ain't gonna hold you. It's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna look different. Like everybody who knew what Hayfield is and what we've done over these past 13 years I've been at the helm, it's gonna look different. But we're gonna try to figure it out. Hopefully we can still win a conference championship and have a chance to go to the regional tournament. And that's, you know, a lot of teaching that we got to do this year for sure.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Coach.
Nah, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, nobody is worrying about what Hayfield problems is.
But you've won a couple games,
Yeah.
a couple of state championships in a row.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the rest of these guys now, they've all been through it many times over. So now, nobody feeling bad for me.
yeah, I was hoping with the Jordan Scott effect, he stayed and got Division I offer and all that. I was hoping maybe we get some momentum here, but I guess I was just a hope. Anyone else want to chime in on this news? Or
Yeah, I lost Carson Cook. He's going to Evergreen Christian. He was second team all district kid for us, and Lowe's talking about family ties. I mean, his oldest brother didn't play for me, but he is 1,000-point scorer in Patriot, all-time leading scorer. His middle brother did play for me. Carson has probably been to five of our camps growing up. And if I can't get a kid like that to not want to go, then what am I going to do? So, I mean, it is what it is. It's always interesting. Like, everybody always has different reasons. And, to his credit, he was like, it was really hard to make this decision. I don't know how much it was his own decision, but, or how much it was a group decision from the whole family, but it's something that, they wanted to do going forward. And it's always just interesting. And even like with Los and with Cam and seeing, the kid from Gainesville, the Cam Kane, the really athletic kid, he left and he's going to Blue Ridge. So we saw him playing down there. It's interesting to watch these kids.
When did that happen?
Say what now?
When did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, he was playing
Saw
with
him in
them
the
this
uniform
weekend.
yesterday.
We just saw it yesterday. So, yeah, and he was not playing with Gainesville when they played in their game. So, I mean, clearly I don't feel sorry for that, but it's but still at the same time, like you watching these kids, and I had to have a group meeting with my parents in between the game because when you all you guys understand this, when you get to a certain level as a team that's usually pretty good and you're putting kids in school, those private schools start to come plucking those type of kids. And I was, messing around with Los. I said, well, they don't want to do the developmental side. They just want to take the kids after we've already done it, which is fine. That's how it's going to go about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure I'm going to get some slack for some of that, but I don't care. It is what it is. Because, like you said, it's the amount of kids that get to a certain point and think that is going to be the answer. when most of the time they're going to end up being the same level that they would have been if they just stayed there and went to school for free. You know, when you're watching, like I said, the kid for us, Carson Cook, he's a starter. He plays in a live period with us the previous weekend. He scores 20 points in his last game for us. I'm watching him play, and I use that term loosely, on his new team because he did a whole lot of sitting and watching. And I'd already told you some of the coaches that were sitting around watching us. Clearly, so it was been a lot of opportunities for him to show that. And if he, thought he was the level that, they believe that he is, then that would have been something that would have been clear after this weekend to play in front of those live coaches. But instead, he decided to go somewhere to reclass to get an extra year. But, we just wasted a live period by not even playing. Cam for Bethel, and Cam for the Blue Ridge, those guys did a lot of cardio. They didn't have an impact on the games like we've seen them do when they're with their old teams. So it's like, what are we really getting out of it when it's like a certain level of school? Now, if a kid comes to me, and I told my parents, it's like DeMatha comes and they say, hey, this kid is going to come play for us. And I say, go, see you later. Enjoy that. But you have to go do that. But when, like you say, you have like a Hayfield, obviously what they've been in the years, like us, or whatnot. What is the difference between them going to play? And maybe in the last year they can say they kind of took a step up, but they say like a Highland or Fairfax Christian. What's the difference? You're playing in the same events, you're playing the same competition, you're playing the same summer league, you're getting the same level of exposure. And I use those examples because those are ones that are kind of our local ones. But you're watching some of these events and you're looking at some of these schools and it's there's too many. There's too many schools. All of them that have opened is way too many spots for kids to think that they should go there to pay this money because everybody thinks they're going to be a college basketball player. And the percentages say the opposite. And all we're kind of doing is prolonging the inevitable for some of them or selling them a false sense of their level when in reality, if they could just be in that spot and not have all of this. There's some things that are great about all the opportunities that they have, and there's some parts that are negative. And I think just the amount of schools that keep popping up every so often is just making it that, I'm watching some games. I'm like, man, half of these kids wouldn't make our team. And going to private school used to mean, I used to be like, man, you used to think of guys like Keith Bogans and Joe Forte. Those are guys you would see at private school. Those are guys you would see with a trainer. Now
those some names,
right? But that's when I think private school, that's where my mind goes with it. Or like you said, the kids we see at St. John's or at PVI, those level of kids that are signing with Duke and whatnot. Yeah. But if I'm going to watch a game of a kid that I played against that was on a team that couldn't win any games in our district. And all of a sudden now he's over here starting at this private school because in his mind, it wasn't that. It was, I need to get over here. It's sometimes you just got to figure out where you at and it helps you grow better as a player than you trying to hop all around all the different places.
Also, the schools, the private schools that Bogans and those guys went to were as old as the public schools. These are programs that have been around a long time. Schools that have a lot of credibility. I'm not knocking any of these new schools, but a lot of that is a post-COVID thing as well. Everyone's online.
Well, that's what I said. It's just too many. And it's like I said, it's not knocking it. Like I said, I'm sure some of these guys are going to hear it. But when we beat them, listen, what do you beat us or we beat you? That don't matter. Is it better for that kid? Yeah. That's the purpose. Yeah. And the other part is if you guys are just going to be on it, because I know they got to do their jobs. They got to recruit. I get all that. Just be real about it. Don't dap me up talking about, hey, coach, let me get your number so we can schedule a game. And then 2 days later, I hear you calling one of our kids on the phone. Just tell me you're going to recruit them. Yeah. Just tell me.
So I'll say this, I got real relationships with with a lot of people. And let's just say that situation with Cam. There's two coaches over there that I have a real relationship with. And I did not get not one text, not one call. And not that they have to. No, but if we have real relations, we have real relationships. I grew up with one dude. I grew up with him, and you don't have no conversation with me, and then you're secretly having him come to come play with you in certain things. Like, come on, man. Like, what
Like
we doing?
that's just a wild scenario. You know, like I said, the whole thing happened with the Ross kid for me. Kids leaving, everybody use the word loyalty. I don't care about none of that. Like, kids and families are going to do what they want to do to further themselves. And I understand all that. Like, it is what it is. You just hope that you can get them to buy into what you're doing long enough to help them out. But the thing that bothered me is, like you talk about, like I had what I thought was a friendly relationship with that coach over there. I genuinely did. And I, even when he first got there, I said, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. Just once they get here, just leave them be. And that was an agreement that me and that coach had. And then lo and behold, when they all said now, it changes. But then, like, if you're going to be on that, then just be upfront about it. Because the same thing, Ant Mills lost a kid to go to there, his best player, the guard from there. These guys are in his gym at higher level workouts. In his gym. And then next thing you know, you're recruiting a kid from his team and he's at your workouts. But nobody from higher level who is on that staff over at Highland would think to tell this man that's letting them use their gym to get their AU and they workouts in. And they're going to hear this and they're going to play like, oh, I didn't do that. But come on, just be real about it. Like, if that's where we are, just say, hey, listen, coach, I like this kid. We're going to try to get him. Yeah. And they say, well, it's just
that's the only thing I'll say. Like, I have real relationships with,
and it's just wild.
A lot of people, and
like what people will do to try to further themselves in high school basketball. And I'm not saying that like to sound like sour grapes. Like, I'm not working hard and trying to get our kids good, and I don't want to win and embarrass people at sometimes doing it. Like, I'm working our tails off to do that. But there's certain things that you are as a man. And I feel like there's some people that are now in this business that didn't get that.
I love hearing y'all say all this. I'm glad.
I was thinking about Dave, because last summer you had a very eventful summer.
Not fall, more even fall.
It was fall, yeah.
Still happened, right?
One of the coaches, we got the job 21 years ago, the same year. So, we know each other as far as relationships, and they come in and swooping guys. And like, when you go and recruit players that play the same position as other players that you're recruiting,
over recruiting too.
That's messed up, and then you don't even care. So yeah, we lost the kid Chris Morrison that left and went to O'Connell and came back and finished a year. He's just recently transferred to, I don't know what
Gillian.
Something.
So he's leaving again?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when Sherman said, he watched, his guy play or some kids play on, for this other team. And, I've seen some of my guys that left and went to play in other teams, and like, you're just the reverse the ball guy. That's all you are. You're to catch the ball and like pass it to the corner guy. You're to go stand in the corner guy. Like, we got guys that were playing in our leagues and, that were the man that could average 21 a game and take their team to the state tournament. That's good. Now you're just a stand in the corner, 4 points a game, rotate, throw it to the post, and then get back on defense guy. And that happens to a lot of our kids. And that exposure, they get more exposure. But now, like you legit shot 7 times. Like, you took 7 shots in this game. And I guess this is what Michigan wants, like, as opposed to the guy that can lead his team late in the game, make the plays, help bring kids up, get them better. But that's where we are, and kids are leaving. Coaches don't even communicate at all. Like that private school thing, I said something in the winter about that. We were talking about like the idea, at least, that they could send an email, send a text, have a phone conversation. But you come in and, for me, one school took 3 kids, and not one call, not one. I send an email, send a text, whatever. Then my DSA text, and the guy texts him right back. So it's like, what? Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a dirty business because it shouldn't be dirty. Like, we should be in it for the purpose of the kids and get better, and then to do the right thing. And if communicating says, hey, so and so contacted me, so we're getting ready to make this move, have that conversation. But like the no conversation, it's just dirty man to man. It's dirty.
It's just weird, and just like piggybacking on Lo said, what you said, it's not something that like you don't owe me anything, because it's like, who am I to say that you owe me some conversation? But I can say this, and even for coaches that I do not care for, if a kid calls or tries to contact or a family member about trying to transfer to my school, or I hear about it going on to some other school, I let that coach know. Like, I just let you know that, because some of us are planning schedules based off these kids on our rosters. Some of us are planning what our development is going to be for other kids on our rosters and what level they're going to play. So it's like I said, and I tell our parents and even the ones that left and that don't, it's not personal. I don't take it personal. You want to leave and you feel like somewhere else is better for you, fine. That's all well and good. Like, I might not be the end all be all for you. I just want an opportunity to give my input on the decision and whether or not it is the best thing for you. And even if it's not the best thing for us, it might be the best thing for you to go somewhere else, but it might not be where you're going. Yeah. It might be somewhere else. But you said, we talking about kids going somewhere and now not playing. You brought up the fact that you heard about the Ridgeway kid transferring there. Well, then this is the same thing I said when they told me. I said, they just signed like 2 other wing players in your class. Yeah. So it's like
the point guard to go to a school that got a top 60 ESPN point guard.
Right. And then the other part is like, it's not for everybody. Everything's different, because we can sit there and like Darius Bivens is clearly one of the best point guards in the country. He should not have stayed at Alexandria City.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because he would not be what he is right now without that jump. There's certain kids it makes sense for, where it's like they need that boost. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is that everybody thinks that boost is for them to get now. Yeah. And that's not the case. Like, it's not everybody that's going to get that from that. And a lot of people are selling that dream to all the kids in these different gyms, and then they put it in the guise of like, well, you can do anything if you try hard. I'm like, hey, listen, that's not like stop.
No, you
that.
Can't.
Or they tell the story about Michael Jordan getting cut from his JV team, which was a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like all that type of stuff. Like just be real with them. Tell them the truth. Where are they at right now? What do they need to do to get to where they need to go? Not, I can get this for you if you come here. I can fix everything.
Yeah. I got an argument with one of Daryl's guys, Overton's guys on Facebook. Yeah, he's just talking about how you have to go to private school. You're never you can't, if you want to be a Division I player, you have to. And I'm like, it's not true. I think Woodgrove, Class 4 out here, I think they have 6 players right now playing Division I. There's Division I players everywhere. The kid,
John Hanley's got 2 kids on their team that are Division I kids.
I hear these things. It's so frustrating. He was talking about football, but you don't. One thing a public school can give you, it gives you responsibility. You're not going to go somewhere, as Sherman was saying, just swing the ball. You're like Jordan Scott took almost every big shot with defenses that were designed to stop him over the last 3 years. And that's going to help him be ready. That responsibility, you might not get that. Colin Bird, when he came back to Tuscarora this year, he made so many big shots, and he was such a part of what they were doing that's part of development too, that responsibility. Coach Craig, you're being awfully quiet down there. I want to know what's going on down there.
I mean, we lost a guy too. Obviously, most people know Kalen Chilton has left Woodson. He's gonna be going to Combine Academy in North Carolina. Wow. He was up front. He contacted me and let me know what was going on. And Combine Academy, as I understand it, I don't know as much. It's kind of one of these IMG kind of model places. It's a sports academy where he's just, it's just going to be about sports and school. So he's making that move down there. And obviously I want him to do well. He's a good kid. They're a nice family. I want him to be successful. In my mind, he's still a Woodson kid. You want to see kids be successful no matter what. I think I can say that for all the guys on this panel. Like, you got a lot of long-time head coaches in this that are not gonna, lose their stuff over one kid one time. We're in it for these communities for long. I mean, Coach Howson's been there 21 years. I've been there 20. I think Lowe's 13. Sherm's been there about 10 years now. Like, we're long-time coaches. We're not. You get kids, you lose kids. It happens. I think, all the points being made on here are good. I think sometimes it just becomes the thing to do. I think kids see other kids transfer and they think, oh my God, I got to do that too. There's a lot, especially with the social media and the clout that they get on social media for, I'm blessed to make this move. And then people comment on and tell them how great it is. That's a real thing. I mean, you see that in the NBA with guys, right? They're taking these meetings for free agency because they want to be recruited. People like to be recruited. Parents like to be recruited. It's great having people tell you how great you are. If any of us here who've gone to the state tournament, when people come up to you after you win a regional championship and tell you how great you are, it feels good. And it feels good for kids to hear that from people online. I don't understand that. I think because we didn't grow up with social media. I think all of us are of an age where we did not grow up with that. It's a little bit different for these kids. So, kids and families are going to do that. What bugs me more than anything is when I hear people online say things like, "Oh, well, you can't." Public school coaches, they can't get you anywhere. They can't get you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've got 27 college players in 20 years. 27. That's more than one per year. Yes, they're not all D1, but there have been a few D1s. But you know what? I probably would have had more D1s if the private schools hadn't recruited 10 of my best players over those 20 years. Maybe we would have 8 or 9 or 10 Division I players instead of 4. I mean, the private school coaches, oh, well, you got to go D1 to come here. When you're recruiting the best players, you're going to get more Division I players. It's not because of Nate Ament was going to go high major Division I, whether he went to Highland School or stayed at Colgan. You know why?
Absolutely.
6'11", he's skilled. His dad played college basketball, is in a Hall of Fame, and he's got
More important, he played for a big name AAU team.
Yes, and he played for a big name AAU team. So you do not need to go to a private school program. It's funny to hear a former public school coach say you need to go to a private school. Was he saying that when he was at Hayfield and Freedom Woodbridge? Because I bet he wasn't. Now he's at a private school, so now you need to go to a private school. Listen, it ultimately, whether they go D1 or not, number one, they got to meet a certain physical measurements most of the time. Like, there's a lot of really great high school players that can't play Division I because they're 5'9", and maybe they're not quite quick enough. It doesn't mean they're not excellent players. Go watch a Division III practice sometime. I'll tell you, there's a lot of really good players. Okay, you got to meet a certain physical requirement. They got to do it academically. They got to win the genetic lottery a lot of times. Because it doesn't happen. You have to meet a certain criteria. It's not because this trainer worked with him. Yes, that does help. But a lot of times these kids, these elite of the elite kids, are going to get it no matter what because they're better physically. Listen, I go watch John Marshall play this weekend. Man, I'm watching their kids play. I mean, they got dudes, straight dudes. And I'm like, I can't believe
Petersburg.
I'm sorry, Petersburg. Sorry, everything's moved.
Freudian slip.
Freudian slip, yeah.
That
But
was
like,
a purposeful
I'm watching
slip.
them play, and like, I can't believe I'm watching Latrell Ullman. I'm like, man, genetically, 99%, I'm the same as him, but that 1% makes a big difference. So that's what I don't get. I don't like the negative recruiting that goes on when private school coaches tell kids, oh, you can't get there going to Patriot or Hayfield or Woodson. Carlos has a player doing pretty well at Division I right now.
Yeah, exactly.
He stayed at Hayfield for 4 years and he turned out to be a good player. Just, you don't have to down talk my program to pump your program, but talk about you.
Exactly.
You don't have to talk bad about me because I could tell you this. I've been doing this a long time. Some of these coaches who are doing this, these guys are guys who are coaching 3 years and they're talking bad about coaches been doing 20 years. And frankly, a lot of us have relationships with those private school coaches that go back years.
Yeah.
And it's really not the way to do stuff. I don't understand it at the high school level. I think if you want to recruit like that, why not go coach at the college level? We're expected to recruit.
Well, and this goes for all the coaches, but you in particular, Coach Craig, when I think of last year with William Taylor, Colin Morgan, Theo Burke, I forgot the other guy's name. I can't imagine those kids playing at a higher level than they played last year. I mean, when I watch them now at the state tournament and before, and all you guys have done this with your teams. When you guys have time and you have the season to coach them and you develop them for the postseason and then they peak. I mean, those guys are playing at an incredibly high level. And
it's funny. A lot of private school coaches and people out in the public will say, "Oh, public school coach, you can't develop players." I bet you none of them would have saw Theo Burke, Will Taylor, Noah Limbago, and Colin Morgan play when they were in 9th grade and thought, "Oh yeah, I need to have them to develop
right.
college." That would not have happened. Those kids, and that's the credit to those kids, how hard they work to make themselves into good players.
Absolutely. They're exactly
it's not
the kind
me.
of players. What's that?
It's not me.
No,
it's not.
If players like that that love basketball and have ambitious parents, if they go to a private school when they're young, they're going to sit the bench for a few years. They're never going to develop. And I told you guys a story before, but when my son played soccer at Yorktown, there was a kid named Mason Cunningham who played basketball as well. He was a good point guard, but he played with my son in the midfield and soccer. But he had gone to Gonzaga and he ended up coming back. And he just basically said, look, I'm not going to start to my senior year. He's a football player. And he came back to Yorktown, played basketball, played soccer. He was all reads and everything. In football, he's all American at Hampton-Sydney in football. You know, the opportunity for him was at Yorktown. It wasn't at Gonzaga. He would have played at Gonzaga, but he had a tremendous career at Yorktown, and then he's doing unbelievably well at Hampton-Sydney. So, yeah, I mean, there are some kids like Darius Bivens that obviously can benefit from a level up.
Not and again, like everybody's situation is different. I
Yeah.
feel like
Right.
certain kids should do it, and like some kids want to use the whole reclass thing. I just feel like these kids just need to go to reputable schools, and to me that's one of the biggest. Everybody going to these fly by night schools. So once that starts to level itself out, I think it's gonna be fine. This ebb and flows with everything. Just right now, that 2026 class, they want to go down to 2027, or they left early to transfer to certain private schools. To me, it just is what it is, and it's always going to happen. It's always going to happen. So it's
for sure.
Just got to figure out the way to keep it moving.
And like I said, I've seen it with a couple kids in my program, and I've just in my mindset, maybe because I was a younger kid and graduated at 17 years old. I got two boys coming up now. Like I said, my son going into ninth grade, Anthony, is 13 years old still at this point. But they're telling him that he has a chance to compete for the starting varsity quarterback job next year. You know what I'm saying? So you telling me it wouldn't be in his best interest to reclass him and send him somewhere else because he's young, which is a valid reason that a lot of them use. But in my mind, it's like, hey, maybe he ain't going to get to that level. Let's see if he can develop and get there. And then if he's that good and it didn't go the way that we thought it should go, you can go to prep school. Because at that point, if you're that good, they're going to pay for it. And it's free. Instead of me reclassing and paying for school for 2 years just for the hope that you're going to get this scholarship that the percentages say don't happen that often.
What's wrong with prep school? Why aren't people just going to high school?
I don't know. People will have their certain moves. And obviously kids, a lot of them are military based, so kids don't really want to deal with that. But I don't know if it was a thing that got locked or not, you guys can tell me, but I know the JUCOs were looking at it not counting against their eligibility to go there. Like I said, it's not the answer for every kid to reclass and go to private school. For some of them, it makes complete sense because they need it. You know what I'm saying? They might be in a place that their coach is one of those my summer is my summer type of guys. Hey, this ain't going to work for me. I need to be somewhere where I'm getting this work in because I got goals. But if you're at a place, like you said, there's our level where we're playing the same sort of level of games in front of the same level of coaches with the same level of exposure. I mean, we got a strength and conditioning guy. We got social media guy. What are you getting at this level of private school that you aren't getting right here, that you feel like you got to repeat a year to possibly play at the same exact level that you would have been at if you just went to school for free?
Yeah.
And that's
one more thing. I will say that on this topic, that the private schools be getting hit too. Like now the prep schools are taking the private school kids.
For sure.
So it's just it's an epidemic.
Vicious cycle.
Like somebody said, it's an epidemic going on.
So the prep schools like IMG are taking the private school kids. Is that what you're saying, Coach?
Yeah.
They
got these EY,
smaller.
what's it called? EY Scholastic League now. So it's like a Nike leagues. So people are trying to get into those leagues.
Yeah. Coach Carlos, I want to shout out Greg Jones here. Greg Jones, so loyal to your program, and he should be because you were great to him. I mean, he was at American, and a lot of programs wanted him, but those same values that his parents instilled in him and you instilled in him, I'm so proud of Greg's going back to American this year, and it just shows you what kind of kid he is, and you have to wish a kid like that all the success in the world. I mean, Jordan Scott as well for being loyal to South Lakes, but these kids that are loyal, and again, there's sometimes when you have to go. I'm not saying that you can't be a great kid and go somewhere else, but when the kids do stay and show that loyalty, it really makes you happy. It makes you proud of them. So
I'm questioning a lot of what we're teaching. I mean, I just finished I got my 2000 Fairfax County hire, so I got my 25 year in the county. And as an educator, academics are certainly important, but under the Fairfax County thing, we have our portrait of a graduate, which is like, what do we want our graduates to look like after they've gone through our entire, time in the county, and like, what do we want them to be able to do? And Doug and I have been 20 years at a school, so we got enough of our ex-players that are back, and the grown men and kids and all that stuff, right? So like when I'm looking at that, and I hear a bunch of kids that aren't even communicating with their coaches or communicating. Like, I'm glad to hear some of you guys as kids communicated, but I mean, I know some other kids around and that didn't even communicate. Like, that's just like a thing of we should be teaching our young men to do, right? Just to have a conversation with so and so and so and so before they leave. Also on the academic side, like I certainly know some kids that academically they need to be in school, not in some show up to a building and pop up with their laptop, and now that's all their classes are for like 4 hours right there. Because then when they get ready to go to college, then all of a sudden they're home after a semester or 2 semesters, and they're telling everybody, "Oh, things just didn't work out." We know why they didn't work out, right? Like you didn't get the skills that you needed academically, and then the majority of those kids, even if they go to college and play, like that's the end. Right, that isn't necessarily a pro league later. It could possibly be, right? Like, Sherman, you're a public school kid that went pro, right? There's certainly a possibility of doing certain things like that, but the majority of our kids are gonna be looking to find a job and work and whatever. And what characteristics of a good kid, young man, did we teach them by allowing them to transfer 3-4 times, allowing them to go to a storefront school, take 4 classes and 1-2 teachers, and then get out of there and then post all this stuff. I mean, basketball is great. It's been helped me my entire life. I don't know where I'd be without it, but I certainly know that I prepared myself in the event. Like I did have an ACL injury, so I prepared myself in the event of what happens if, and then what are you going to do after that? And I don't know if all the handlers of our kids that are leaving, they're not looking 3-4 years down the line like we do with our kids and our programs. We look 2-3 years down the line to see what they're going to do, where they're going to be. And I think the handlers need to be checked. Because it isn't a one size fit all that every kid should transfer, every kid should go there. It isn't. And some kids, like, and even some AAU coaches and some private schools, they don't even have transcripts. They don't even know how many credits. They don't even know how many classes. They don't even know GPAs. Like, you got kids traveling all over the country playing in AAU tournaments that got under a 2.0 grade point average. Well, like, what's the point to be in Texas or Oklahoma or whatever if you can't even you're not even qualified? So it's like, do the handlers know what they're doing? We know they don't. And it's just unfortunate that, so many of us have lost some kids that we certainly know, like, they have the right to do whatever they want. Their families decide to do whatever they want. I have a child. I'm never going to let nobody tell me where my child should go, what she should do, whatever. But having a communication with people that actually know the information and then making the decision from that, well, that's amazing. You have a conversation, you hear all the, the do's and don'ts and the here's the good and bad, and then the family goes back to make the decision. Awesome. But it's when they just decide just on their own without having any like real bringing together of knowledge. That's what's frustrating, and we know it hurts the kids in the long run.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that in addition to that side of things, and first of all, every kid has the right and family has the right to do whatever they want with their kid. I'm gonna never tell a kid that you got to stay at Woodson because that's the best. I don't know what's the best thing for them. Their parents hopefully do. I mean, I think we run a good program. I think we put kids in school. Our kids are taught the right things to do. We discipline, we hold them accountable, and all that stuff that a lot of good coaches do. And there are in private schools too. There are a lot of private school coaches who do great stuff too. It's not just us. The other part of the academic side, to build on what Coach Houston said, I worry about kids socially. Like one nice thing about going to a public high school, right? You graduate, and 15 years later, you have a group of friends you probably grew up with. You went to middle school, you went to elementary school, you went to high school with. And when you come back in town, you have people in town that that you always have a place to go back to. There's always somewhere to go back to. You have lifelong friends. I'm a public school graduate. I still talk to people I graduated with. Those are friends for life. Those are relationships you're going to have for life. You're going to have a place to come back to that's always yours. It's nice to have a foundational place. Sometimes these private schools, these kids are taking online classes. And when I was 17 years old, if somebody would say I could sit in front of a computer all day for 2 hours and do all my classes and not have to go to school, I probably would have chose that too, because it's easier. And it's sitting in class for 6 hours a day is hard. There's some classes you don't like and they're mind-numbingly boring. And you know what I learned from them? That I can sit through stuff I don't like and find a way to get through it. And I feel like we're kind of creating a generation now where it's very microwave. They can just kind of pick and choose what they want. And sometimes in life, you got to do things you don't like to do. That's life. Not everything's easy. It's very few small percentage of people that get to do what they love to do every day of every moment. There's a lot of part of every job that you're just not going to like. And I worry that sometimes with some of these situations, I worry about the social and the emotional development of young people because that is a big part of high school too. Like I like it when I see my basketball players at the Friday night football games because they're being kids. They got plenty of time to be college students when they get to college. They got plenty of times to be adults when they get to be adults. They don't have to do that at 16 years old. There's an age appropriate development also. Some kids can handle that private school grind, basketball 24/7. There are certain kids that are cut out for that and love that. And then there are certain kids that are being pushed towards that maybe that's not the best route for them.
Right.
And I still think to traditional public schools, which I think, everybody here runs a traditional public school program, there's still a lot of kids that benefit from that model.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what do I know?
Anyone else want to jump in on
Nah, I
this?
just,
Yeah.
it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
Everybody, as all of us, or especially all of y'all have done, y'all kept it moving, and it's been like a next man up mentality. So
That's all you can do.
That's what that's what it is.
The great thing about being a public school coach, you are going to have kids in your building every year that want to play. You're going to have a team to coach. Some years they might be better, some years they might not be so good, but you're always going to have kids that want to play and you get a chance to be a coach. And at the end of the day, you got to work with what you got and help those kids. You can't help everybody. You got to help the ones you can.
We lost 3 kids last year and 3 major players last year. And I can't say that I was more proud of any team or players individually I ever had after when we walked out of Hayfield at the end of the season. And we lost in double overtime, but the kids that I had, like the relationships that those kids now have together with the things like the challenges that we had to do just to get to that point, it was, yeah, that's what public school is for. Like the locker room conversations that we had, the young men conversations that rarely happen, that you're able to just express your feelings about how things are, and then having the space or an opportunity to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's missed in a lot of ways, and I was really proud of my guys for that. So yeah, that next man up. I mean, that's what we do. Like we train our kids, and then if somebody leaves, we fill the void, and we do the best that we can. But yeah, I hate that I've had experience with that, but I was just really, really, really proud, and I thought it offered an opportunity for some other kids to really grow where maybe they wouldn't have grown as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, is there any good transfer news? Is there any kids that that are coming
You
back?
said good?
Yeah. Is there any good?
I mean, the kid came back from O'Connell to James Monroe. We played against them. That I didn't know that the kid that set the freshman scoring record for VHSL. He left O'Connell, came back 2027 kid. So
Down in Fredericksburg?
Yeah, so that's good for them, I guess.
Tuscarora got another kid from PVI, Cole Perez.
Oh wow!
So they got 2 PVI. I'm saying rejects, but he's not really rejects, but callbacks.
Exactly. It's a good environment. The gym gets a good crowd. You're right on the court, so they're going to have a good time.
Speaking of the college,
Petersburg got some transfers.
Who did?
He said Petersburg.
Yeah.
He said good transfers.
I'm just having fun, guys. It's all right. I love the Crimson Wave down there. Those guys are great. Coaches are good dudes. I just like to have a little fun. But yeah, they got some transfers.
Carlos,
I was gonna say about the Colin Bird kid. I really like what I saw from him. I never, you always hear everything and you see some of the highlights, but seeing him in person, like he gave us crazy work. So I'm surprised, and I'm gonna say this: I'm surprised Mount St. Mary's did not offer him after the day that they beat us on the first live period. Like he looked really, I mean, he did everything, he showed everything, and the coach said that he liked him as a freshman when he was at PVI. So it was weird that he didn't walk away for offer after that weekend. But then I saw him again versus Petersburg, and he was solid in that game too. And so yeah, that kid.
What was the final?
I think they ended up losing by like 20 probably. But it was close though.
It was close. They zoned them out.
Though.
Yeah, they zoned them out. It was close.
Yeah.
Kind of wore. I think Petersburg kind of wore them down in the second half.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
that's
a
what
close
happens
game
when you
though.
got a 7-footer and a 6'9" kid.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Petersburg, they looked great. I mean,
I mean,
they look
even
really good this
I
He's
mean,
week.
got
we
a
played
footer.
him. We played him
He got a
down.
7-footer.
Six, 6'10", 6'11".
Well, he close enough. He playing volleyball on the rim.
And they got Armando Baycock's brother King. Been
And
hearing
he's
about
the
him.
number one freshman in the country.
How big is he? Baycock's brother.
6'2",
6'2".
left hand.
Yeah,
He looks like
I
he's
mean,
gonna
He's
get bigger
smooth though.
though.
He's smooth.
yeah, he's
He got
smooth.
a
Like
smooth
it looked
game.
like he's not playing hard, but he's getting to where he need to get to.
Yeah, he got a smooth game.
And it's just so it's like you said, we played him without Gaskins and Wilcox and another one of our rotation guys. And in the first half, like, we were competing and it was kind of close. And then the Latrell kid just decided that, all right, I'm going to show y'all why I'm going to be in the league one of these days.
Oh, I saw Jordan Hunter as a private school move, but Jordan Hunter
Hargrave.
is at Hargrave now.
Yeah.
From where?
Jaden Ivey's brother.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he was at PVI for a while. I don't know where he was last
He
year.
went somewhere for a semester last year,
Yeah.
and then now he's at Hargrave, so he's back in the area kind of. He looked good too.
Yeah.
I don't know any more that I could think of that's like school to school transfers.
Still kind of early. Sometimes the kids that come back to public schools happen closer to the start of school.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of see what it's gonna be at the private schools in the summertime, and then they make the well, maybe I'm not gonna play a lot. I'm gonna go back to my base school. That what will happen sometimes in like July, August.
I hope that Heritage team stays together out here. They're all sophomores last year. Eric Williams' kids, and then
They look good. They look good
remember-
this weekend.
What's that?
They look good this weekend. I watched them play.
Yeah. Okay. Who did they play?
They were playing Gainesville. They were playing Gainesville.
Was that the game they were playing Gainesville? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell. Gainesville looked really, really bad.
Yeah, but you could still tell a good team. You know, they look like a good team. They were organized. They were.
They did. So I mean,
He's cracking me up, yo.
they're gonna be mad. I don't care. It's not like Powers was there to watch it anyway, so he didn't go. So they were not good.
Sherm, you should never say I don't want parents coming down and yelling at me on the bench. You just getting on the podcast and ripping other schools. They just giving it back to you.
I mean, listen, man.
You bring it on yourself.
Like it's not so much that, like, it's not against the kids. Like they just struggled. Their best player literally just left, and then they graduated the other one. Like that's going to be hard for them to bounce back from. So they're struggling. But it's
No sympathy for that.
Julian, I'm not gonna lie.
No
I was
sympathy
sitting
for that. Get it together.
Julian, I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting at my basketball camp 2 summers ago, drinking a Coke, watching the kids play basketball, and I got a notification on my phone, and Sherm posted something on Twitter with him walking up to another school's sign for basketball camp, taking it and throwing it down out in public, and I dropped my drink on the floor. I started laughing so hard. I'm like, this
like
guy
that
is reckless.
that was hilarious. But we live in the day and age where everybody's so sensitive.
They took it. They took
Like,
it another way.
They don't know that you're kidding, coach.
But it's like you said, they really think like I hate those guys. Like, relax, But as funny as it is, my son said we're not allowed to eat anything purple within our house or have any of those colors. Like my youngest son is like all about that. But it was like one of their camps, so I just saw it like driving. I got out the car, took it out the ground, threw it, and like stepped on it, like because it's a rivalry and it's funny. But guess what happened? They called the school and called my AD.
They don't think it's funny.
They called and said that, so I had to take the tweet down within 20 minutes. Just enjoy things. God.
I get it, Sherm. I get it, Sherm. I'm
About-
still sticking pins in my Mike Desmond voodoo doll these days, so I'm not happy with Michael these days.
The rivalry's fun.
Who got the job at Battlefield, by the way?
Kid named RJ DeAndre. He worked with MVM, the guy that worked out the Native Men kid. So he's good. He's good. He's gonna be good for there. I had sat down with him talking about some stuff. And he's really excited. The better they got it right when a lot of people are mad about it. And so a lot of people that thought they should have got the job that shouldn't. So I think he's gonna, bring some energy back into the program.
Yeah.
Wait, you're helping him?
Helping is one thing. No. I gave him some advice about some things that he might have to deal with. But helping, we still gonna try to kick his ass. Don't get this twisted. But everybody thinks I'm this ogre. I'm really not. I just like to compete. And people take it serious and get personally.
It's not an either or. But what about Osborne? Osborne. Who's got that? Who got that? job?
They hired Andrew what's his last name, Los?
Yeah, I forgot his last name.
Yeah, he used to Andrew Lacey.
So
Andrew
he used to coach
Lacey.
at
He
Richard
used to
Bland
coach-
Junior College.
Yeah, he was at Richard Bland, but he was the Verina head
The
coach
Verina coach. Yeah.
when they won the state championship.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's really good, and that once again, that's another place that got it right. OP hired James West's son, the son of the guy that used to coach at Freedom. He was helping out with OP girls team, and now he's the head coach there. So we got a good influx of some good coaches
Some young coaches.
in our league that I think are going to kind of raise the level of stuff and make sure that we, stay sharp with it. Unity Reed is getting a new coach. I don't know who that's going to be yet, but I mean, it's not shocking that they couldn't figure that out before the live period based on how things usually go over there.
Wow, that's the whole western part of the county has new coaching staff.
Yeah, I see. I didn't realize it was that many.
I like to look at it like it's like the Nick Saban effect. It's like if I keep doing things right, it's going to be a new cycle every few years.
Hey, Julian, have we reached the point of the podcast where we ask Carlos to name all the teams in his district? Because
Not yet. He's still
You don't
recovering
want
from
to
the
tell
tough
us,
two
but even practicing.
weeks.
Carlos, who's in your district this year?
Hey,
Annandale, Edison.
Again, man, I only talk about the team that's been close to beating us every year, and it's been Edison, man. So
Trey's back, right?
Trey back. I saw him tweet something out that he's back. So good for him, man. Shout out to Trey.
Yeah.
He got them young boys, and
they play hard too, man.
They play hard. They play hard as a mug. So that's gonna be an interesting game, especially with the changes that we have over here at Hayfield. So
who
Mount Vernon should be better if they got a big kid, O'Neal. He said, who?
No, what team?
Mount Vernon.
Oh.
They got the big kid that's been that's on my AAU team. O'Neal Ali. Yeah.
Are you sure he's staying there?
Yeah.
One that's been there for the same couple years?
Yeah, because I heard he might be somewhere different.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say what I
out.
know until it's for sure.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
That's true. That part. But yeah, man. I mean, I don't know much. Annandale's always solid. So we'll see what's up when the season comes around. I'm looking forward to if everybody played in the fall league. I'm looking forward to the fall league so I can actually go watch them play. So now, I gotta pay attention now.
I love setting Carlos up with this question every year. It's always my favorite part of the podcast.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah, it's the best.
Are there any coaching changes in the rest? I mean, we did Prince William. What about Fairfax?
Lewis got it. I don't know if they hired someone, but I don't think what's coaching there no more.
No, Brian's.
So I don't know if they hired anyone. Anybody know if Lewis hired a coach?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I noticed in my conference. I think.
Yeah. Metris is still what's his 35th year? What?
I don't think we didn't lose anybody in the
No, everybody's back in our league. I think everybody's back in the Liberty. And then Concord, I'm pretty sure everybody's back.
No, Liberty, we got the new guy at Herndon. I interviewed him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
New coach
Austin Hamilton.
Austin Hamilton.
Former player, player.
Ex-player.
Yeah, former regional player of the year. Played at Elon.
Yeah, Austin was nice in high school. He was nice.
Yeah.
Very good player. Yeah.
I got a feeling he's going to be successful. So.
Gotta get players.
Yeah. Herndon, low key, is one of the. If you look at the number of Division I players they've had, we don't talk about Herndon a lot, but that place has had so many great players over the years. They haven't. They've won some stuff with Coach Hall, but I don't think they get probably the respect that maybe they deserve. Herndon.
Did they ever win a championship before?
I think with Scotty.
Has Herndon ever won a championship? That y'all
I think
know
with
of?
Scotty they won one, didn't they?
Scotty lost in the state finals his senior year, but they won the region.
Yeah, they won the region. They definitely didn't win the state. They didn't win the state.
There's been some down period though
for a minute.
A bunch of years. You're talking about like 2 and 3 eras of players. When you're talking about like 8, 9 years, you got kids.
There. Scotty was the last time they were any good, right?
Nah, they had a team.
No,
Austin Hamilton's team was good.
Austin's
I wasn't around during that time. So.
Yeah, that was right before you. That was right before you started coaching.
That's
They
like
had some. We played them in
2009.
2016, and I guess that was probably their best year.
Oh, they were
Uh,
good. They had the left hand kid that was bouncy.
I
The
guess
They had the
guard.
kid that transferred in that went to Lehigh.
Yeah,
yeah,
we beat them in the regional semifinals that year in that overtime game with the technical at the end of regulation for our crowd going on the
That
field.
was the year y'all won it,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah,
had a really athletic kid on
that
that
was
team. Yeah, I
20. That was
remember.
2014. That was
Something Johnson. I
2014.
can't.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about when you won it in 2017. Wasn't that the year y'all won it?
Yeah, we beat them in the semifinals that year, but I think they were a bit of a surprise team that year.
They were. I remember the
Yeah.
guy that was coaching there. He didn't
we beat
expect.
them the year before in 2016. Black dude was coaching there, younger guy.
So
That's the
I
same
have
year
a
as 2017.
I have
Yeah,
a question with Herndon and Reston because I've thought about this a lot over the years because it seems like that obviously that little area has a lot of talent, but it doesn't seem like they're both good at the same time all that much. It seems like one of them's really good, the other one kind of drops, and then the other one comes up, and the other one kind of drops. Is there a lot of like, has that been that way historically with those two? Because I mean, I've been around the last 25 years. I can't remember other than maybe Scotty's time where they were like really good at the
yeah.
same
South
time.
Lakes was good back then when Scotty and them was good and Herndon
Yeah,
was
they were
good.
good at the
South
same
Lakes
time
was good
then,
at the
but
same
since
time.
then it
Yeah.
seems like it's been one or the other.
Yeah. In the 80s and 90s, they both were really good.
Okay.
Herndon tend to Herndon tend to they get to the regionals, but they never got to state. I don't believe in the 90s. Maybe they
No,
did. Yeah,
they
and then
didn't.
but South Lakes was definitely the more
Okay.
accomplished program in the 90s, even though Herndon was really good.
I think Herndon's one of those schools that's undergone quite a demographic shift the last 10 or 15
Oh
years
yeah,
too. You know,
Yeah.
I
Well,
just think it's a different
that
kind
in
of school.
boundaries and the school
yeah.
boundaries, like we're gonna like I don't know if people. I'm sure I know the boundary changes across Rivers County big time, but like I'm gonna lose a ton for my school program, like my communities that are gonna feed that are basketball that feed. And like I know South County, I know hey I live in the South County Hayfield area, so I know the zoning around there is gonna change. Uh,
Oh, it
I
is.
oh
How
yeah.
come? Is there a new school?
Into my favor.
Is there a new school coming in?
I don't know. I mean, pause. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
They
I
seem
don't.
like they're just reorganizing the boundaries because there's some schools that are so over enrolled in Fairfax County. There's a few schools that are under
I
Yeah,
enrolled.
need it. I need the
but
boundary
but they're
changes.
not
I need
doing it. If you look at the superintendent's stuff that they put out, you look at the maps and all that,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
you can see it. Okay.
You'll see the specific apartment buildings, maybe the specific. It's not like a line that looks like that. That it's it's one of those
Oh
that kind
wow.
of it's at least from I can only speak for my school. It's really disappointing the way that they mapped it out that we would lose one community and not lose another community. It's disappointing, and I hear even in the Hayfield South County community because it spills over to the elementary schools and the middle school
Right.
that it's the schools are going to look different. The team's going to look different when we show up probably 3-4 years. I
Dang,
think it goes.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know that they was changing the boundaries. So that was news to
Yeah,
me.
goes into effect in 2 years. I think all the kids coming in a couple of years, it'll go into
Yeah, we
effect.
can't blame this one on Hayfield football. We cannot do that. This is not Hayfield.
I was messing with Mike Desmond when I saw him at the live period. He said, "Man, look at what I got." I said, "Mike, this is just what your team looks like when you don't get them transfers in there."
Yeah.
It's a bunch of white kids from Reston.
Real quick, guys. We started to talk about some of the best teams for next year. Obviously, Westfield's going to be up there, and Patriot's got some kids coming back. Who else? I think Yorktown's going to be decent. They had two sophomores last year off the bench that could score a lot. Jake
Lansdowne.
Bellum is still there. I think Yorktown
Lansdowne.
could be decent. Who else?
Are you
Lansdowne.
looking?
Lansdowne in Virginia. Yeah.
We're just talking about up here.
No, it could be anywhere. That's fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lansdowne. They lost their second leading scorer. He transferred to Green Run for football purposes.
He was good.
But
And you can
they
do
still
whatever
brought
out there.
everybody back. I mean, Dwight's son just got an offer from Norfolk State this
I saw
weekend.
that, man. Shout out
He's
to him.
still only a sophomore, so I mean they're going to be really good. I mean Westfield, they're just really good. They got somebody at every position.
Two people at every position.
They really do. The taller kid, what's his name? I can't remember his name.
Matthias.
He's playing a little bit. He's playing a little bit tougher around the basket. Obviously, the guards are really good. It's gonna be one of those things that they're going to be a tough one for sure. I like us too. I mean, we had a pretty good summer when we were a whole roster. I thought that our guards for sure, like Elijah and Sean Madrigal, had really good summers. And some of our younger kids growing up and playing a little bit better that are getting more minutes now. But, we averaged like 81 points a game during the Capital Hoop Summer League.
Yeah. Marshall had some interesting results. I think they might be. I know they had the guy Trey
Leonardo.
Leonardo. I like that kid. He'll be a junior, so maybe they'll be tough again. But who else? I know that
I feel like I don't even know, to be honest. It's outside. I'm talking like not Prince William County, but just Fairfax County. Like outside of Westfield, it's like Westfield. Then to me, is everyone else. Where in the past, it's always been like 2 or 3 teams who could have won it. But like right now, we just don't know what we don't know, in my opinion. So we'll see. But the team still winning basketball games, man. They still getting it done over there.
Yeah, they are.
You got some.
Smoking mirrors, coaches. Smoking mirrors. We can't coach it.
But also, what's the kid? The Johnny Anderson kid. I be seeing him.
South County, yeah, he's a good player. I know Coach Houston. He's got I know he's has sit back there quietly, but they got a lot of experience back. Like a lot of kids who played a lot of minutes last year, who are seniors and are experienced, and have played in big games. That matters. That really matters.
I hope McConnell's not listening to this podcast.
He ain't gonna answer if I reach out to him. I'll shout my guys out, man. I think, Doug, I appreciate that. I mean, I have like probably the most returning minutes and stuff that I've had in a long time of guys. And I think our defenses, I've been really pleased. I think that we're very good and physical. And I got a lot of guys that play other sports and like lacrosse guys and football guys. And like, we may not win the game, but we're definitely not going to lose the fight. So, I like our chances going into next year. And I agree with that. Like it matters having some experience. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I've played with a lot of young guys and, we've had it make it happen with the young guys, but it just looks different when the kids are out there and they've been there and they understand the hourglass and the sand is going out and, we got to make it happen at the end, and it's cool to see that.
There's a focus that comes with kids when they go from that 11th to 12th grade year.
Yes,
there's a maturity that happens between 10th and 11th, but the focus becomes more, down the path where they need to go from that 11th to 12th grade year. It's not so much fighting with them about the things that they can do and what they can't do. They understand what they're really good at and how they can help the team win, and they understand what you're asking of them. So that's for sure. Like I know these guys have had some really good teams, but and having those seniors and having that type of leadership, I know last year with us, we were awful in the summertime. That's why you see people now, and I know Dave said something about we're not going to say how good we're going to be based off how we played in June. I mean, we were terrible last summer. I mean,
you're struggling.
We were, and anytime I would tell anybody we weren't very good, but I knew that we had some talented kids that just didn't understand what playing at that level was, and until they kind of go through it, they don't really get it. And so once you have a group that's gone through it, you feel really good about what you got going forward after that.
Yeah. So sometimes when you lose that many players like you did, Sherman, you got to build a new identity. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight.
But it's not even so much that. It's just that the new ones have to understand what your identity is.
Right.
And they're still trying to – it was so funny because, like you said, I know that these guys have seen it too, and Los, you probably can talk about it now. When you have a group of inexperienced kids and you lost a really good group, now all the inexperienced kids are trying to prove to you why they should get something for their individual stuff. Let me show you what I can do. This is my turn. I can shoot these shots. Like they're not thinking about how it incorporates into the team fabric. And so Like I was watching our guys last year, and like this summer we averaged 81 points a game this summer. We have the same roster, and we played Edison last year in the live period. You were there. We scored 4 points in
You
a
guys
half.
you could not throw it in the ocean.
But it was like, and it wasn't because they weren't good at basketball, because they were all just individual pieces out there not doing team things. It's like everybody's playing an instrument and nobody's playing the same song. And it's going to look terrible. It's going to sound terrible. So once they become older and they become more comfortable with who they are, they do a better job of incorporating that with the other guys around them.
Yeah, that's how I feel like we are right now, Sherm. Kind of like where you were last summer. I got some talent. It's inexperienced talent that hasn't really
Right.
played a lot, other than the Corallo kid, who's
right. And one thing is, they watch all kids. They play hard too. Yeah,
yeah.
Your guys play hard.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
they are like right now. They're all trying to prove that they belong there. And as coaches, we all know we wouldn't have had you up on the varsity if we didn't know you belong there. But I get it. It's part of the growth process. That's why senior laden teams tend to do well late in the year, because those kids, they just get it, they understand. But it's it's also fun coaching a new group too. Like I gotta say,
Yeah.
like it's fun having a new group to coach and all that stuff. And by the way, I am shocked to hear that West Potomac has a very tough and physical team. I'm just shocked to hear that. I don't think I've ever said that.
His group's gonna play hard too, man. Like it just is what it is.
Hey man, that's who they are. That's their DNA down there. Coach Houston and his staff, man, that's how they make them play. And that is who they are every night. That's why they do so well in the postseason. I've said it before. They play postseason basketball.
It's the hardest team to play in the postseason.
Yep.
It really
because
is.
they play a postseason style. They just do, and that's a credit to him and his staff. That's why they're so good every year.
Hey Doug, I forgot to shout out your player Ryan. He did a great job last year as well. He was a junior, right? So
he's a good player. I mean, I think he's one of the better guards in Northern Virginia. I'm not saying he's the best guard, but I'm just saying he's one of the better guards. Yeah, he's real solid. He's getting a lot of recruiting interest from like ODAC type schools.
Oh, good.
And he's a good player. Like, and what I've been most pleased with him this summer is, especially now the last couple weeks now that Kalen has moved on, Ryan has really stepped up vocally and tried to be a leader for our guys, because we're so young. Like it's just a whole bunch of guys that just really haven't played much, and a lot of juniors and sophomores, and he's doing a really good job being a vocal leader for us, and we need it because he's the one guy who's played a lot. He understands, hey, we can't do this when it really matters. We got to be able to do this, this, and this. So I've been really pleased with him. I think any Division III school is going to get a really good player. He's a very good player.
Yeah.
I think another cool part of the high school process is just that, like, we had so many young guys last year because we lost some guys and then they had to figure it out. We figured it out together, but then you had kids that became leaders that would never have necessarily been in that leadership role. Now I got like multiple returning captains that probably wouldn't have been, they would be probably first time voted captains this year, but they had to take on that. And, I do have captains meetings where we teach them how to be captains and stuff. And so just learning that stuff and playing that role, and yeah, that's a key public school thing, I think, that like stays with you for forever.
And he said that goes with what you were saying earlier, Dave, and what we keep talking about. And a lot of it gets lost in like people think it's like sour grapes and us being mad that kids want to leave our programs. It's like you watch the growth of kids, and we talked about the jump from 10th to 11th and 11th to 12th, and they lose that piece in the growth process. Like I said, it's not all of them, but some of them that need it. Lose that little piece where it's like, I have to figure this out, instead of like, well, let me go here because I feel like this is going to be something that I can kind of do that. And it's just, I hate seeing it, them missing that, because then that's when you have the kids that go to a school and then they're gone in like a semester or are going to 2 or 3 different places because they can't figure it out in the place that they at.
Isn't that part of the fun of being a coach too? Is
absolutely like watching the growth of them, and as not just as players but as men. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, as human beings, like some of these kids, I know we run camps like a lot of you guys do. We know these kids when they're 8, 9 years old, and you see them as 8, 9-year-old, and then they move up through high school. I got a former player on my staff who's on my staff now. He came to camp when he was 8 years old, and now he's on my staff at 25, 26. Like that's the coolest thing, to watch them grow.
Yep.
And I think that's why ultimately, we all love to win and all that stuff, but like really helping kids develop into men, I think is the really fun part of the job that no one really ever talks about. Like everybody talks about the wins and losses and championships and college players and all that stuff, but like watching your kids progress through the program and get better and grow as men, not even as players, but as people. Like that's the part that I think I'm concerned that we're going to lose with young kids, all kids, by constantly giving them the microwave, making it easier and easier and easier on them. You don't want to watch them progress. That's fun. Like it took us this past year, right? I had a group of seniors like that this past year. We won a lot of games. Everybody, oh, you did a great job. You went to state final, blah. But like they don't remember when those kids were sophomores and juniors. And I know Los said this on the one podcast. Like we lost a lot of big games and they had to learn how to win those games. And it took them until their senior year to do it. And that's why it was so rewarding for that group to do that. And that's the fun part as a coach is really watching your teams and your kids progress through your program. And as they get better and they take more and more of an ownership of it, at least for me anyway. I don't know if everybody else feels that way, but that to me is maybe the most rewarding part.
Hey,
I
Doug,
had
I
two
want
of
to
your
say,
parents
like,
remind me,
oh, go ahead.
Doug, two of your parents in the regional final. I was still there. Obviously, I was going to be there to support, but I was there because the girls played first, and two parents came out and reminded me that how much further these kids have gone because of the tough struggles of playing against West Potomac in 4 games. I think it was like a 6 points or something like that.
Yeah.
And I certainly remembered all those kids. I mean, all of them were there and played, and certainly
Yep.
they got better and better and better. And yeah, you use those things and you get better for it as opposed to just like, let me just bounce over this other place and then win a quick game. And like Sherman was saying there, like that development piece, I think when you miss that piece, I don't really think there's a go back and do it again of that. I think because once you get to college, and if you happen to get a chance to play in college, you're never going to be in that position again. Not like the position you were in high school, even if you get to that point. And then like, I don't really have those in the cubicles at work and stuff. So it's like that. It's that, yeah, there's that progression piece of a kid, almost like the learning and the read piece between 1 and 3, right? You miss that piece. It just becomes a struggle from here on out. And I agree, Doug. We're missing that. There's no question about it. The handlers are not talking that. They're not having those conversations. They're just having the right now conversations. And hopefully
I
they
tell
listen
you
to
what.
stuff like this.
I love that part of it so much. I actually like watching, like in our district, watching other people's kids progress. Like, we played your guys so many times last year, or even Carlos is like we played them almost every year in the regional tournament for like 3 or 4 years. And to watch like the Parker Cage kid, when he was a freshman and sophomore and see him as a senior, like to see the progression he's made as a person and as a player, like it's fun for me to watch that even in other kids in other programs because at the end of the day you compete against these kids for 4 years. You want to see them be successful and do good things and you want the competition. I think that's the camaraderie of being at a public based high school where you see a lot of the same kids year after year after year. Like it's actually fun for me to watch that. I think that's a rewarding part of the job.
Yeah. Hey, Doug, I wanted to tell you, like, one thing that I saw where I knew that, like, y'all probably were going to go on a run. So, like, leading up, like, that off season, like, your 5 guys, 6 technically, um, like, they would go to different open gyms. Like, they would come together and just go hoop. And it reminded me of, like, the teams that I always had. Like, we would just go to different open gyms and just go hoop. And I saw that, like, they were everywhere. Like, Noah and Theo was bringing them dudes everywhere to go hoop no matter where it
It's
was.
old school, man.
Yo, I actually loved it.
Listen, it's
I
great,
had that
man.
no up one time. I said, no, keep doing this. And I
Well,
didn't think that was
that's why
gonna
I
come
thought
to
we were having a
us losing the
renaissance
regional
of it.
championship, but
Right.
you know, but
Because
I
like you
did I
said,
loved it though. I loved it. Like that's what I loved about Doug's
yeah,
team from this past season. They
Yeah,
was together. They was connected.
they
that's what I
were.
liked about this in the last couple of years, just like in Northern Virginia in general. Like Los, I know your group was doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, they came all the way down to Osborne to play one day.
Right.
Our guys went over there to play. We just had a lot of kids that really wanted to hoop and
Yeah.
like hoop together. And that's what I was like, man, public school look like it's kind of making that. But like I said, the
They're
26
trying to make it
class,
hard for it to happen these days, but
the 26 class is like, nah, forget all that.
Yeah.
yeah. But I did want to talk to y'all about that, Doug. Like
For sure.
kids,
They
like
were.
they was really connected in
They
the
were.
off season.
Yeah. We've
Just
all had
hooping
groups like
together.
that, right?
Like just
We've all
hooping.
had groups like that. We've all had groups like that that have been just really connected and what they mean to your program. And as a coach, how rewarding it is to see that, right? To see
Yeah.
kids and to hear those stories about kids showing up down at Osborne to play. And like
Right.
that's what you want because those kids are going to be bonded together 20 years from now. They're going to be able to call each other up and say, I tell them that all the time. Like, you're not going to remember the wins and losses and how many points you scored, but you're going to remember you remember when we all got on the bus and went down the Woodside and played? Like, that's what you're going to remember. And we stopped at the barbecue place at like 9 o'clock at night on the way. That's what you're going to talk about. and that's the part that I'm fearful that kids are going to miss out on. As we transition to more of this, a la carte, pick what you want, and there's no bond. I think the bond is really important. It's gotten me. I feel like it's been a value to me in life, and I can only speak to my experience. But I wasn't nearly as good a player as anybody on this podcast. But I still have friends from high school that I played ball with that I can talk to, even though I wasn't a very good player. But you're bonded for the experiences you do and you go through together.
Another part of that bond is I follow some of the kids on Instagram, and you'll see them for proms, like for Carlos's kids, they'll all have orange ties and they'll go to prom together. The ball clubs, like when I went to the regional final in baseball, the Madison McLean, I saw all the McLean basketball players were there, the soccer players were there. I think a lot of that of experience you have from playing high school sports, you guys are just talking about that. It's more than just individual achievement and your recruiting list that you're able to make it on the college you're able to get recruited to. It's the whole experience. And I think the Fairfax County schools, the Prince William, the public schools up in Northern Virginia can provide that. And I wonder whether these online schools with great basketball, the basketball factories, are going to be able to match that. I just don't know.
And I guess the online schools without basketball factories might struggle even more.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are popping up that are the most frustrating, as the ones that aren't. But
I hope they do. I hope they do that for their kids. I really do, because I think I don't know. I just felt like that was an important part as a human being for me as I've gotten older. Thinking back on those days and the relationships you have with people, that's what's valuable to me. It's not like, did I learn the standard derivative of this in calculus class? It's, oh man, I remember, us going to the prom together because we played basketball and we were in the same prom group. Like that's what I remember, but
Yeah.
maybe that's old, I'm probably old school for thinking that too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's antiquated now.
Now, guys, do we need to talk about transfer rules since no one's transferring to the public schools, or is that worth talking about? I mean, there's supposed to be. What I heard is the rules haven't changed, but they're going to start enforcing some stuff this year.
Oh, you talking about kids?
yeah, so that part is
Transfer
that
to
part
public
is
school.
a real thing of like they got to go the process of a kid coming in. I think it's a Fairfax County thing. I'm not sure.
Hey, I think it's only Fairfax. It got to be only Fairfax.
I think it's a Fairfax County thing because we got a person that's coming over and for his sibling came, and so the kid is coming, something like that. Yeah, they got to have a checked off process. They got to meet with I think the DSS, which is the student services person, and then there's another follow up with the principal. I think it's anybody that's coming in. It's certainly new. I'm pretty sure it's just Fairfax County, and that this is the Hayfield effect. So this is
they said in our county, and I thought this was across the state, that to go to that high school, you have to have gone to that middle school in the 8th grade, that feeder middle school.
No, we don't have that.
You better check. I just don't think it was because
it's something to it, but if you move, you just got to go through the whole waiver process.
Yeah, but it wasn't just our county, because the reason why I know that is because our county has specialty programs. It just means that now any kid that applies for a specialty program to go to a certain school has to go through the appeal process.
Yeah,
probably all the kind of stuff that y'all are talking about a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I think that's just what you got to do now.
I got the wording in front of me from, but I can't tell if this is from VHSL or this is Fairfax County. But yeah, all students who change from one school to another are ineligible for VHSL athletic and activity participation at the new school until they can satisfy the transfer rule. So they can't do anything until they're cleared through the guardian. There's something new process called the guardian that is like a online thing to show all of your stuff to show that you are eligible to play.
Yeah.
Does it say anything about middle school?
Bona fide students. You have to be a bona fide student. It has a proselytizing in here. Does not say anything about middle school in here at all. Doesn't say anything about middle school.
Okay.
Might be the one that's coming next, because I heard that was coming, but it ain't yet. But it ain't gonna matter until they're not gonna enforce it everywhere. So They
And
said,
that's the only thing I don't understand. Like,
and we're going to talk about all this stuff. And then, like I said, all that stuff that happened with them boys going play football at Hayfield. And we're going to pretend like it's not about to happen somewhere else for basketball this year. And then we're going to pretend like we don't see kids making graphic announcements and taking their talents to new high schools down to 757 for football. Like, it just like if you're going to pretend like you don't see it for certain places, then just leave us alone.
yeah.
And of course, it's frustrating when you see it happening in things that are not sports. Like I know there are people that are in the play. There are people that are in the band. There are kids that are doing other things that are going to school they shouldn't be going to. But because they're not averaging 20 and sending their team to the state semis or whatever, we don't
That's
we don't
annoying
really talk
too.
about
Like you
them.
said, kids can go to a biotech program and nobody blinks an eye in it, but a kid says that and happens to be a decent athlete, then everybody wants to know why that kid's going to that school. Well, just like that kid wants to put themselves in the best position to succeed in school, this kid is trying to put themselves in the best position to, it's the same reason why these kids go to private schools if they think so.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if I'm living around Hayfield, why would I want to go play basketball at Hayfield? Why wouldn't I? Look at the success of the program. You think that parents moving into these places don't look up the history of their schools' programs and how they've done in the past when they think about where to move?
Right.
Listen, right now we might be having a different conversation if Fairfax had middle school sports, because I would have moved to Fairfax when my parents moved here. They moved to Prince William because they had middle school sports. That's why I would move down here. So it's just.
I heard Kendall gave your dad a whole bag of cash. That's why.
Oh, listen, wasn't nobody thinking about Sherman Rivers in the 7th grade. I can promise you that. I was all of 5'2".
Kendall was an optimist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, last weekend, I went to the state soccer tournament 2 weekends ago, and they had the semifinals on Friday, and they had the final on Saturday, and they had baseball, softball, all at the same school for 6. So you can watch the soccer games, doubleheader. You can go over and watch baseball. I saw Madison and I think Battlefield or Gainesville or something. You had the softball, and then everyone stayed in town, and then you had the class 5 at the next high school. And all this stuff going on. They called it the Jamboree.
Where was this, Julian? Where was it?
This is down in Richmond for the class 6 soccer, the soccer championships. They had it for soccer, baseball, and
Didn't they
softball.
do that at John Champ last year for spring sports?
That was 2 years ago. They did it at Champ. Oh, they might have done one.
For spring sports, they usually figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, and it was awesome to be able to have all those teams and all that energy. I mean, the soccer teams were complaining about playing two days in a row, but soccer is not like basketball. It's not really meant to be played on consecutive days. But for fans like me, it was great.
Do you just pay one time, or do you gotta pay per sport?
You just play for the Jamboree for one day. You pay for one day. You can go to all the games you want in the area. I mean, usually you can only probably go to 2, but because they're all scheduled kind of middle of the day.
But how do they track who they sending that $10 to?
Oh, you had to buy the online, and then they give you a bracelet. So the Go fan thing.
I think you can get in. You can go to any of the sports.
In the sports, you can walk around any of the sports. I think it was great. It reminded me of the state tournament in basketball when I used to just go hang out and watch random games. And like this year, I went all the way down there to watch Doug and Mike play, South Lakes and Woodson play, all the way down there for one game. I watched a little bit of the girls' game too and came back. But it's nice to have a real tournament. I stayed overnight. Me and my son stayed overnight and watched all those games. So I'm optimistic. I'm going to go VHSL. Apparently, anyone on the next meeting, anyone can speak if you get on the list. So I'm going to go in October and talk about how we need to go back to 4 classifications and how we need to bring back a real state tournament instead of 6 championship games. Actually, I guess 12 that are connected in any way. So.
West Potomac lacrosse team, our lacrosse team won the state championship 6A. But they played at 9 a.m. on Saturday in Richmond. It was the same time that we were in the live. We had that 8 a.m. live game. We played, and that was the other thing I was gonna say about the live. We played Orange County at 8 a.m. So Orange County drove up and I thought the scheduling that probably wasn't good for them. Yeah, 9 a.m. state championship game in Richmond at a high school. I thought that was and I didn't know that they could have, I guess, possibly played in that jamboree
Yeah, it
thing
was
that you
part of
talked
it. But
about.
those games were probably at 10, but it was so hot they moved them all up, and they were expecting thunderstorms in the afternoon on that Saturday. So they were trying to get the games done before noon that day. Yeah.
So I was
Man,
happy for our
9
guys.
a.m. state championship game.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was happy for our guys, but 9 a.m. states in Richmond. So a lot of our fans went, which is great. A lot of our community went. But like that doesn't seem like a state finals, It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was already down there, so I had a good time. So um anyway, guys, by the way, before we get off, what's Des got coming back with Merrick transferring? Does South Lakes they have any portal news for South Lakes?
They in rebuild mode too.
Any good news? I'm sure ran nothing yet anyway. But
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. But I mean, I saw them play a couple times, and we played them once. It just looked like they rebuilding.
They had 20 dudes at a summer league game. I know that.
Yeah,
and they just picked up. So they had tons and tons of guys. So it's not like he doesn't have players or somebody to fill in.
Yeah. Let's hope they can play some basketball though, huh?
yeah. But they still try to defend, I should say.
yeah.
And, so yeah, they'll still be there.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll coach them up just like
Oh, you know what looked better too? Chantilly. Chantilly looked better.
Mm.
I don't know how good they'd be during the season, but watching them play in the live thing, they look solid.
Yeah. Wow. And that Hanley team is gonna
Oh,
be
Hanley's tough.
Oh, listen.
Yeah.
Who played? Did any of y'all play this Hanley?
I saw Hanley.
We
We
played
them,
them.
but I
We
watched
played
them.
them
They're tough.
this past weekend on Friday. And
I couldn't believe that kid's transferred. I thought the kid that scored 50 last year in like 15 or 16 minutes. Isn't that Hanley, the shooting guard, the kid that had like 51 in like 17 minutes or
He's
so?
got a
I thought
hyphen name. I forgot his name.
he's still there.
yeah,
He's
he's a
still there.
junior. He's only a junior.
Yeah, he's already got 1,000 points.
Well, you put a 50 in a game in 17
Yeah,
minutes. I would
like,
assume
listen,
that. Yeah,
The way he plays, he'll be able to play the same exact way in the men's league in like 20 years.
Well, he looks like he might be in a men's league now. My man looks like he's about 20.
Yeah.
He could hoop though. But
Yeah.
I didn't think he wasn't their best player. I mean, they had their big guy was pretty
Right. The other one is
tough.
right. But
They
he
were tough.
is, and he talked trash too. I love him. Like I do, man. I love it.
Yeah, I like him too.
Yeah.
William Drawn or something like that?
Yeah.
Braun Davis.
Braun Davis.
Davis, yeah.
No. He's not. Braun Davis isn't this. That's the other one.
That's
It's
Braun
the
Davis is the
different-
white kid.
Or the white Braun Davis is the white kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Dingus is the light skinned kid who plays for Virginia Elite AU.
Okay. I got it.
I think he's their best player. That kid. I think he's their best
He's
player.
dynamic. He's dynamic.
He does a little bit of everything.
Hey, Sherman,
Yeah.
who won that game?
Hanley beat us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like I saw them play versus Petersburg.
Yeah.
And, it was a
Close
solid
for a
game
while.
for the most part too. But like him and Latrell, the Allman kid, like they was like going toe to toe for a little while. But Latrell ended up he's tough.
It's the same thing that was against us. He just said, "Listen, I'm going to show y'all I'm a top 100 guy." And when he
the Allman
decided
kid,
that- When he decided that, it's a wrap. Like
the whole second half. I think he had like 31 in that game too.
Oh, is he a top? I don't think I realized he had that.
No, he's top 100 for sure, and he is, and he deserves it.
That makes sense. All right, he stood out, and that makes sense. That's how it should be. If you're that good, you should stand out, and it should be obvious that you're different.
I told you all the story last year. They played Spring Mills, the West Virginia champ last year, and it had been rescheduled because of snow. And I was going to go over there and watch because Spring Mills they have some great players. So I got lazy and went to watch Tuscarora play, Heritage for the 5th time or something like that instead. And then I watched the on NHFS. I ended up watching the whole game, the Heritage Spring Mills. That game was a sellout. That was an incredible game, overtime game. And I'm still kicking myself for not driving up there and watching that game. But oh well, what are you gonna do? Getting old.
Yeah. Not for sure.
You know who's had a good summer? I feel like, based on where they stood last year, I feel like WNL quietly is putting together a good summer. They've been really competitive in the Fairfax Summer League. I saw they won a couple of games big at the VHSL Live, and I seem to remember him playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores last year. I wonder if they're kind of one of those teams that's a little bit under the radar that might end up being pretty good. Again, kind of like when we talk about Davis' team, experience, just kids that have played. It matters.
Yeah, nah, for
Maybe
sure.
Buck
I have
brought some
to. I haven't
yeah,
seen
go
him
ahead.
yet, so I gotta see him.
Yes,
I gotta watch him.
yeah. Maybe Buck brought some of Tony's players over to Washington Liberty.
Oh yeah, shout out to Buck, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to
man.
Buck on this thing.
Can't believe it. Can't believe the
Congrats.
dynamic duo finally broke up. It's
Right.
like the Beatles breaking up or something. I don't know.
I thought it was a joke when I seen it.
Yeah. I tried
Yeah.
to call and get an interview. He didn't want to do it. He didn't email me back. So that's all right, Buck. Yeah. I'm not going to cover you guys.
He's a head coach now. He doesn't have to talk.
That's right. So, well, guys, man, this is great, man. Another summer. Hope you guys are enjoying at least some time off. You always pouring so much into your kids. Hope the parents out there notice these 2 hours that you spend talking about basketball. I don't pay you guys, so they should appreciate how much you guys care about them, and how much you guys care about the game, the state titles and the regional titles and all that. They obviously speak for themselves, but it's more than that these days, as you guys know. But anyway, anyone have any parting thoughts before we sign off?
Nah, I'm
Yeah,
glad that.
enjoy y'all summers. You school
Yeah.
teachers.
Hey, I'm glad. I'm
Few
glad
weeks
this is
we have
over.
left.
What's that, Carlos?
And I said I'm glad that the summer pretty much is over for me in basketball. I'm gonna be chilling for the second week of July on.
Mhm.
At
Thanks
least
for
I
giving
still
us
got
the
to do. I
platform.
got I did coach AAU this year, so I got that 1 week of AAU that I'm gonna do in July 9th to the 13th, and then yeah, man, be on vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
Julian, thanks for giving us the platform again to talk.
Yeah, I was enjoying it, man.
Sure, appreciate it.
We
Yeah,
had a
people-
lot to talk
About to
about
tear us
today.
up about that 30-minute conversation we had on transfers.
Thanks for
That's all
finally
they're
having
going to hear.
thanks for finally having a topic that all of us can understand now.
Yeah.
So that transfer topic, a good one that we could all talk about.
They're just going to be mad at me, so it's okay, guys. Everybody mad at me all the
Someone's
time.
always mad at you, sure.
Hey, you about to get a call from Darius.
He ain't going to call me, man. They're not built that way.
Yeah. Okay, guys, look, man, enjoy your rest of your summer. I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
All
All
right.
right, fellas.
All right.
I'll see y'all.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Yeah.